Okay. Our last day of grinding. We're close enough where, this should get us to the bar, famous last words. We are almost there, I feel like. Yeah, we are 8 foams away. And we're a decent amount of water away, but water is the easier part. I don't need to rely on RNG for water. Let's go ahead and start with a water run, though, to start getting our reserves up. Let's see here. A few of these two while we're here. Alright, so with that being the case, here we go, hidden water part 2. Because we're starting to consider, like, actual, like, efficiency, we are just gonna run gunhead for this. Gotta go fast. I don't need you because you don't give me water. Maybe access is fine. I could bring cigarettes too, why not? We'll bring a cigarette. I'll bring a cigarette. I don't need meds, I'm playing gunhead. I do need ammo. Don't need a whole lot though. We shouldn't be doing a ton here. I think we're just gonna be running through Tunnel B. I do have 5 drones. I could be really greedy here. Yeah, let's convert 2 of these drones into just quicker runs. It's probably much better off if I would just go Tunnel B to Elephant and not spend the drone, but like this does save quite a bit of time. I think the Tunnel B we have is kind of a bitch to get the Elephant, if I recall correctly.
The sector ahead contains explosives.
I think we'll do this twice with drones. Thanks, Memphis. Appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoy them. Alright, continuing on. Said we are here for one thing only, and just getting that water quest done. And get our water reserves up. If we do both, we should be able to get to like around 40, 45-ish water, I believe.
Under fire from multiple vectors. Seek cover immediately.
Leave me alone. I just want water. Even though I'm a robot and can't drink it. Hey Dubs, how's it going? No, I have like, I don't really, so like, because water right now is, like, it's not something you need to stockpile outside of needing to build buildings. So like, I don't usually hold on to it all that aggressively or farm it all that aggressively. But since now we're trying to get the bar, wait, I have the wrong rack. God damn it, this is gonna, oh god, I didn't bring the right container, god damn it. That's on me. But no, like, I don't generally farm things I don't really need. And you don't really need water anymore outside of, like, buildings. Yeah, we're gonna lose about, like, 5 of our water for that reason, but, like, at least it's gonna be still a decent run. Medicine, right? Yeah. Am I blind? Just a little bit. There's one. Hey, Game Shift, how's it going? Yeah, I mean, the rack only has, like, a very specific purpose, right, of, like, grinding water, really. But I can't pick you up. Okay, we have all our requests done, which is a, you know, a positive.
Threat removal imminent.
Alright, back to the innards.
Keeping humans alive gets old.
Oh no, we're still grinding. I'm like 8 of them away and a lot of water away. So we're close. We can probably get it today. We should be able to get it today. Now, granted, I can start building it today, but I won't be able to actually see it until I get back. Because, you know, the 2-day wait period. All right. Let's do one more, but actually grab the right rack. I mean, there's mods to remove the timers, and I could just turn my Windows clock 2 days ahead and then turn it back to make it done. I'm not gonna do that though. I don't genuinely like to show modded content or like exploits on stream just because it gives the wrong impression to people who don't want to bother. I would rather show the game in the natural form that it is, for better or for worse. I'll still say those mods exist, but like I'm not gonna like show them off as like the actual gameplay loop. For better or for worse, those timers exist, and that's what they want in the game for some weird reason, so I'm gonna show it off like that. I still don't agree with them, though. Does Tormentor actually spawn? Does he have a spawn point on Elephant? I can't recall ever seeing him on Elephant before. No, I just woke up, so it will get better, Game Shift. This is the I just woke up kind of nasally part of me that will go away as I continue to talk and things begin to flow. Evan, the plan today is to get the last of the water that we need for the bar and then get the last of the foam we need for the bar. We have the money, so the money is done, everything else is good, just the foam and the water. Yeah, I did it again, didn't I? Oh no, I have the right container, I think we're good. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Tormentor I've only ever seen, I believe, on Ashen. Recruits are NPCs that you can basically hire as companions. They are low-key useless. They're kind of a meme and funny to use occasionally, but by and large they are not worth your time or money or just a headache. Granted, if you just want to fuck around with them as like a meme, I would, but just don't invest a lot into that run, right? Because it's probably just not gonna go very well. I wonder how those recruits function in tunnels too with the jumps, actually. Do they jump too, or they just like teleport around? I don't think I've broadened the recruit into tunnels yet. I am actually now genuinely curious how they function with the jumps. I kind of already feel like I know what they're gonna do. They're gonna teleport around. Yeah, I mean, Honestly, it's one of those things where I don't think they could probably do a good job. So I would probably think they should just remove it. And just remove the things that were kind of require having those companions in single player. It seems like a lot of work to get them up to snuff for not a whole lot of benefit. It doesn't seem like it's worth the squeeze. Yeah, the drone recruit idea actually does make a bit more sense because it makes it a lot easier for them to follow you. You don't have to worry about pathfinding all that much. See a turret spotted me. Hey Ping, how's it going? Alright. I mean, that'd be a cool feature for like a shaman to have for sure. All right, we have all our water. We still don't have the lost cache. Is it worth our time to go look for it though? Probably not. We'll check the main hangar, but if it's not there, we're moving on. Container, no.
Dumping.
All right, let's wait for them to move on. Continue on your merry way, please. No container over there. Yeah, this is a bust. All right, I'm not gonna spend more time here. Let's move on. We missed out on one water if we got the lost cache. But it's not worth dying for.
I am the weapon. Deciding to use it is a job for you humans.
Okay, move to stash. Medbay access. Sortie, and then hidden water. We go ahead and abandon you so I don't have to see you. I know Little Papa's done videos on like the voiceovers for units, like the unit dialogue, but I'm not sure if anyone's done the actual factual music. Okay. Mask Man, we're going back to just the tunnels for foam grinding now. And grab some 545 or 762, either or whatever, depending on what I have. Actually, let's bring over the M4 now. The M4. Alright, M4 acquired, because we have plenty of rounds for it. We're getting like 400 in. Backup shotgun, sure. Just in case. And a few meds. And to foam we go. This will cost us some water too. We can mitigate this a bit by like 3 from getting water along the way. So it's gonna be only like overall a cost of 3. But like, so if we maintain like our average, I would say about 4 a run. We need to do two runs of this to get both our foams, both our sets of foam, and then we're gonna lose 6 water, and we're gonna have like 44, 45-ish left.
Wake up, rinse and repeat.
which means we need 35 more water to get the bar, which is like basically only like around 3 runs of elf and spam, which is not too shabby. That's assuming too if we don't die, and it's assuming like it's actually pretty important that we don't die because otherwise we will start losing our like our fast travel drone stockpile basically. We had 5 starting out. We used 2 to get water. And like if we typically speaking if we're doing like a foam grind in tunnel C and D, we will just naturally find like 2 to 3 drones worth of supplies to make more. Speaking of like we just got the motor, which is the hardest part of getting it. Every 4 motors is a new drone. You did not show your aggro meter. I hate knockdown so fucking much. That is so stupid. Oh, Tunnel Exos, why are you the way that you are? The very classic on-par Tunnel Exo, along with no aggro meter, which is fun, into a knockdown chain that takes fucking 15 seconds to get up from every single time, because why not? Oh, the good old stuff. Why can't I upgrade you? Why can't I don't care about the receiver. Just give me my gun. Alright, there we go. At least it happened early. I will say, at least it happened early. It could have happened later on, which would have been much worse. Rather get the bullshit out of the way early. I have a drone, what are you talking about? I mean, I think everyone has told them that knockdown was a fucking stupid mistake, and they're just double down. Alright, anyway.
But the mask helps.
But that would game shift. That would require them to actually iterate on things. We can't have that. This is the forever winter. Once something's done, it's done in perpetuity, forever.
Everyone for themselves.
Iteration? Never heard of her. Alright. I'm only gonna be looting their actual regular supply crates here. I don't really want to spend my time looting the ones that don't have a good chance getting foam. Looking for the high chances. There we go. I mean, I think it's honestly more game shift, just like how they literally operate though. Alright, slot machines. You know, it means they're curious on if they want to kill you or not. But it's not very trustworthy either. It's a good old pot shots. Alright, that's this room down, I believe. Okay, it's behind the skull wall. Can't get it. Okay, moving on. Over we go. Up we go. Alright, we have 1 foam, we need 7 more. Alright, anything down here? No, we're good. Don't need you. Your ammunition don't really need you either. I'll take motors too. Motors are nice. Motors and power cells. I think if you don't get power cells, that will be the eventual next bottleneck. If you have lots of resources stockpiled up, so like I think it's motors and power cells, but like outside of that, most other things just pretty straightforward. Here, I'll take a stim just in case I want to go faster for a bit. Lots of motors. Oh, no, goddammit, you misled me. Fuck you, Blacklight. You're supposed to mean foam. How dare you? Alright, nope. Alright. We'll go over here. Actually, this looks like a way out. We'll go up here first, then. Let me stab myself in the neck real quick. You want to go fast. There we go, foam. That's 2. I can already tell you, this is a bust. You can see the patterns eventually, you know it's a bust before it even happens. Alright, let's continue on our way here. 2 foam and tunnel C so far is pretty good. We have up or down or this way. Let's go down first. This might be a dead end tile too, but we'll see. I believe that, yeah, that takes us to the camp. You can tell like the camps are like the red lights and like the weird, I think this is the camp, right? There's like a certain vibe of camp tunnels. Yeah. It's always this like, it's this right angle going left, it feels like, to the tunnel, to it or something like that. There's definitely a vibe when you're getting close to that, like, or that, the pathway to going to that. I don't need medical supplies. Where do you go? But I believe this might be a dead end tile in totality. Like, I think this bottom room just ends at nothing. Though that pathway going up might lead to something eventually. Might just take us in a loop, though. Motors. I think it's been brought up on stream before. I don't think it's never been brought up before. It's just like the issue I take with it, right, is it's more of like I mean, okay. Yeah, this is a dead tile, okay. It doesn't really, the way they've done it, it doesn't really interact with like anything. It's not really a quest giver spot. It's not really a reputation spot. It's kind of just a fluff plus AT rifle spot. And don't get me wrong, I like the fluff, right? Like I'm glad they're adding more of that, but like it's too siloed off, I feel like, right? It could have had a lot more like usefulness, I feel like. Like it by and large just like what is your purpose? You unlock the AT rifle for me. And that's it. Like, it would make sense, for example, of like having the bar being a way of turning like reputation into like tangible benefits. Like, say for example, if you have higher up with a faction, you'll actually see those types of like faction members in your bar, and if you have low rep, you don't see them. And then you can use those, like the bar, as an actual way of translating reputation into favors. Or boons, or whatever, right? So like, in a way, you actually make the bar even more progression, because it gives the players new abilities based on their progress, which is like the cornerstone of progression. Blood, we're working on it. We're close. I'm 8 foam away, but I have 2 foam in my inventory right now, or maybe 3 foam. We're close. It should be today when I can start crafting it, but we won't see it until next time. I mean, Al, I'm gonna probably get it just passively eventually over time, but like I have no really desire to use it. It feels kind of like antithetical to the game, it feels like. But like, keep in mind too, I would have removed the railgun in a fucking heartbeat from the game in the first place. I do understand that they're probably personally not very interested in removing content. My opinion's quite different. If you're an early access game, everything's on the table. Just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you need to fucking double down. Yeah, I don't personally give a shit about that. I'm just like interested about maybe the fluff, and that's really about it. Also, it allows me to be snarky about progression too, and the lack thereof. Mainly because Mile was like earlier this year in Q&As was talking about how like they're working on progression for the later part of the year, and we're getting this now, and I really hope this isn't like a monkey paws curl progression moment. You asked for progression, here it is. Not like this. Not like this. Alright. Nothing here for us. I mean, so... unkillable enemies technically aren't opposite what this game's supposed to be, right? They're supposed to be enemies who are like suicidal for you to attack, right? the problem is the way they've done that, because they haven't been able to do that in the game in a way that makes sense, is just to give them a "you can't kill these guys," you know, flag, basically. That it doesn't take damage or it has lots of HP, you know, thing. But like, you shouldn't be able to kill a medium mech, I feel like. Like, technically speaking, the item that you would need to kill a medium mech should get you so much attention that you should be murdered. But the problem is like, medium mechs take damage from grenade launchers, and lots of other firearms that are pretty conventional, and you can stand in a rock and bug them out and kill them. That is the crux of the issue. It is why a lot of their melee special units are unkillable, is because you can stand on a rock and shoot them endlessly. And they didn't want to reward that. Now, it depends on the sequence of order of things, right? If they kind of knew they couldn't, like, it just, yeah, it depends. It's just, there's lots of contextual stuff. Like, in my mind, oh god, fucking, I got, this fucking gap is so deadly. In my mind, if I knew, like, going into a project that, like, hey, we don't really have the time and resources to, like, really have these units be very in-depth, and, like, have lots of movesets and ability to deal with terrain issues, that would probably help influence the player's ability to move around the map, right? Like, for example, not every game needs the ability to jump. Especially when you can write it off as you have this giant-ass backpack carrying tons of stuff. You can't really jump. You can maybe still do mantling, right? But, like, you can basically tell the player that, like, hey, you are constrained by where you can mantle and where you can walk. And that way you can basically have the NPCs always be able to get to the player. There's never going to be a pathfinding concern. Yeah, Tim, like, that's kind of the whole thing too, right? That's kind of the vibe they got from the earlier trailers, right? Is like, if you want to take down a big bad, you need to find one that's weakened or be opportunistic. Like, it's not gonna be like, you guys can't kill a medium mech, like, right off the rip, right? I didn't want to loot you anyway. Like, visible wall here. I mean, ultimately, Elv, a lot of the it's a consideration thing based on, like, the time and resources they have, right? Personally, I would have advocated for, like, a lot of simple systems. We need to go that way. Let's go over here first and explore. A lot of simple systems that are connected together, right? Nothing too complex or deep, just because. Hold on. Ooh, connect, like, you know, what is it, like, you know, complex, deep systems that interconnect, get very complicated very quickly, and take a lot of time in debugging. So simple systems that just provide the ability to see, like, the scaffolding of the game. Well, okay, here's the thing though, right? Like, how would that work if you were friendly with all factions? You can just, like, think about the end state there, right? Okay, I'm friendly with all factions, so none of them shoot me anymore, so I just run around and loot stuff. That doesn't make any sense for a gameplay perspective, right? But by and large, I just don't think the surface should be basically free game, right? Like, why would, like, let's say, for example, there's, like, 10,000 deployed troops in the area for your Ruska, and you have high rep with them. Does that mean literally every one of those 10,000 soldiers is gonna know you by heart? They're gonna program into you that this guy is friendly for a while, we don't need to shoot him. No, they're not gonna do that. there might be a few people within Yoruska who, like that, like the high reputation of Yoruska or like a certain faction indicates to me that like, hey, among the like the, you know, higher ups or people of importance there, you do have some sway, or you do have some friendliness, but by and large the grunts aren't going to be able to differentiate you from the rest. If their job is to kill civilians, they're still going to shoot you. Hey JV, I'm good. Just continuing the grind. Looking for foam. Well, Toothy is different though, because Toothy is the Toothy is not, I would consider, a faction. Toothy is more of like a neutral entity or friendly entity. So Alvi, what you're basically saying is you want to cosplay as one of the factions at that point though, right? That's not the point of the game. We're not supposed to like align ourselves with the faction. That's not the scope of the game. That's once again antithetical to the actual like mission statement of you're just like a lonely scav. You're not that guy. You can't be that guy. I think at this point Beta Decay is gonna have literally everything, which means it's gonna have nothing. Okay, so what you guys are describing is you guys literally want things to have. You guys are being very specific about your asks. Try to zoom out a bit and try to understand what you're truly asking for. What is the exact pain point you are trying to highlight? You are thinking of, oh yeah, this sounds cool. Like I would love this in the game, but think of why you want that in the game. What is it actually ultimately serving? And figure out what the pain point you're trying to solve is. Because that's the actual takeaway here, right? Not add the specific system that I just came up with, but what is this system that I'm trying to come up with actually solving? I'm not saying you're not solving anything, because you are solving something. You're solving like the lack of depth. You want reasons for things to exist, right? You want, in Alva's case, like he wants reputation to mean something. He is correct. Reputation does not mean anything. But you can zoom out a bit more and say that just like in general, the runs don't have a whole lot of context or diversification between them, in my opinion, right? Like the way I would personally see it is they need some system, they need some part of the game that helps add at least narrative differentiation between runs, right? Because right now all the runs are practically the same, it's just your motivation for doing them. Like I'm getting phone right now, but like it is by and large the same exact run. I am just doing tunnel C and D, and all of those maps basically play and feel the same. And you can have Alv what you're mentioning via things like events, things that add modifiers, or like it doesn't take, okay, so just like this, right? Players don't need a whole lot to feel immersed or feel invested in their characters or in their game, right? Like if they added voice lines like Fear has for infantry saying that they're doing X, Y, and Z, like they're flanking or maneuvering, even that simple extra ad will add a lot of extra immersion, even if the NPCs aren't really doing that, right? It's just that little bit extra fluff that takes it over the edge. And the same thing can be said about what you're like describing, right? As like, hey, they just need a little bit of extra context or a little bit of extra nudging on how maps play depending on like events per se. Like I wouldn't make Alv what you're mentioning to be just this like constant state and affair. But like, hey, maybe that could be a benefit of the bar, right? Is like you can turn reputation into a tangible benefit for a map
This is what it's all
or for a run. They basically, they need to add ways to make runs more diversified from a separate system, not from variants, because variants takes lots of time, right? Granted, if they don't have the scaffolding for them describing, that takes a lot of time too, I'm not gonna lie. Because it's kind of one of those things, right, where if you don't have it in place yet, you kind of need to build all the hooks. General, what you were asking for is basically a complete AI refactor, which isn't gonna happen. Now, would it be probably good if it did happen? Probably, yeah, but like doing a complete AI refactor at this point would be a lot of work that I don't think they're up for. Like, fundamentally, too, right? Like, I wonder how their patrol logic worked, but, like, their patrol logic is not great either, right? Because, there is no, like, give or slack in their patrol logic. The enemies that are patrolling will, like, rigidly abide by their patrol position. They won't have some flex, so they constantly just try, like, are readjusting themselves when they're patrolling, especially in tight areas. Like, it's, for example, why they're, like, why in, like, Cemetery you see enemies shuffle all the time is because it's very narrow there, and they're constantly having to readjust their pathfinding to get into the patrol position, basically. So, yeah.
I think they spotted us.
Yeah, but Al, you realize what you're asking for, though, right? You're asking for a small indie developer to be Metal Gear Solid. Well, the AI can be more complex, but it just depends. Like, it just requires you to have different states, lots of different states, depending on context, right? It's a lot of slow work, right?
Don't miss. Make every shot count.
And when, like, that's the problem too of like having lots of different units also, is that like well, Al, you don't need to apologize, but it's just important to like not hold a small studio indie game to the same standard you would hold of like a much bigger studio. Like, I'm never gonna like say that like because our creators are so polished, how could they not do that in this game? I haven't heard about it. Maybe they have, maybe they didn't. My gut reaction says no. I haven't heard about it, and they haven't posted on Discord at all. So they could have hired one and he's just keeping to himself, but like, I feel like if they hired a guy back in like late last year, we would have started to see a lot of AI stuff by now for the AI. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I feel like an AI person coming in would be like, hey, we need to do X, Y, and Z, and that probably rubs Miles the wrong way. Systems people, like what I have learned from my understanding is that they just don't really mesh with, they're very vibe focused people, right? They're artists. I can't blame them for that, but they seem very adverse to
Fill those pockets quick.
to things like that. their first like concern with AI is like making sure it like vibes well as opposed to anything else. I feel like.
Good for us.
No, yeah, that's probably one of the main reasons, Andrew, why we don't see map reworks very often, if at all, is because they probably just don't want to deal with nav mesh and pathfinding. It's once again, it's that aversion to like them wanting to touch things they've already touched, right? If they view things like the AI, or if they view things like the nav mesh, they view things like the actual like systems of a game as a chore as opposed to what they really want to do. I can't speak on that, Alf, because I would consider that to be privileged knowledge, and I am bound by an NDA. So I don't think I can personally translate my feelings about Miles from conversations with him into something like that. I don't have an non-disparagement, so I can, like, as you can probably tell, I can be mean if I want to, but I feel like that's taking too many inferences from personal conversations that I would consider bound by NDA. Well, General, that's kind of the reoccurring issue, right? Is that they shoot for the moon but settle for nothing. And what I mean by that, right, is that like they try to do these grand wall like visionary sort of systems, or sorry, like design, or like they try to make it like very complicated, it feels like, or they try to make it like emulate something that's complicated, but they don't make it in a very sustainable way, right? And it could just be relics of the fact that this is like, I think, a build from like, this game is probably still taking lots of stuff from their original ideas from forever ago as a baseline, and they built it up from there. So there's probably lots of just archaic old shit in the code that just shouldn't exist anymore, that they've never done a refactor for, or just cleaning out of. I don't think they do. I mean, I have no idea. I will say this, I do think they have a tendency, we've had a few times now, Alv, where there's been a few instances, Alv, where we've had a poll. Remember the poll back in like, I think what, like May or like June of this year, where like, what unit do you want to see added next? And everyone said Europa, and so they gave us fucking Kolkata. No, I do think, I do think in that capacity, they're doing what they want to do, not what we want them to do. They ultimately are just there to do whatever the fuck they want, and we're just passengers along the ride. Like, nothing screams that harder than like literally that. And they pushed out the Stiltwalker. Like, I feel like they pushed out the Stiltwalker because they were bound by that, and then they have just let the Stiltwalker just sit in the fucking shadows now. It is so bugged and incomplete, and it doesn't do it. It's super fucking rare. It bugs out constantly. It's unkillable by anything. Nothing screams more that like we were really hoping you guys would say Yoruska, but you guys said Europa, so I guess we need to do that now after we actually give you what we wanted to do, which was Mr. Cold Guts. Oh god. I will say, okay, so they did another poll in the Discord asking us for what skin we want to have next. And I think Shaman won. Oh man, if they do it again. Once is a coincidence, twice is a pattern. So if we see them ignore a poll twice, then those polls they serve no purpose. They're just there to see if they can justify what they're doing. People have, Nicholas, the illusion of like giving players like the illusion of giving a shit about your players. Just like the feedback channel. Yeah, I have no qualms about saying that. Like, nothing screams more. So, once again, if you want to talk to other people in the Discord about your ideas or about their ideas, yes, the feedback channel is fun for that. Do not convince yourself that if you have a good idea, or if you like have everyone agrees with you, or like any other reason, don't think they look at feedback. They look at bugs and breaks. I will say, like, they do look at bugs and breaks because they're looking to fix things that are, you know, bad. But like they're not. There's a reason why they broke out feedback from bugs and breaks. And ultimately, they just aren't there to care. They're gonna do what they're gonna do, and that's gonna be it, for better or for worse. The only times they will genuinely give a shit is if they're getting review bombed for a certain thing. Hence why they did performance, hence why they did water, so on and so forth. That's the only actual way to make them care. But I will say, it definitely feels like a double-edged sword too, because at the same moment of making them care, they feel, I get a sense that they kind of feel, not antagonistic, but they have a degree of animosity. Not necessarily for the audience generally, but the audience specifically. I mean, yeah, but more game shift, it's not really about that. It's about the level of dishonesty, right? Of just like a, just like, if you're gonna make a new skin for a certain faction, just own up to it. Or if you're gonna make a certain skin for a certain character, just own up to it. Don't pretend like you're gonna give us a choice or care. It seems so stupid. Why lie about that, or why just like, why? I'll going back to your question though, I will say I can say this, because this is a general thing about artists. Think of it this way, right? When if I'm designing system, if I'm doing something, right? If I'm making a project, I'm designing something, I am doing X, Y, and Z. I do not get emotionally attached to those. There will be a bit of my ego in it, right? Just because it is something I have made. But it's important to realize that, like, when you're dealing in a professional environment, at least with other of your peers that should reflect like this too, when they're critiquing your work or they're criticizing, they're asking you questions, they are trying to, like, maybe understand why in their context, or they're trying to give you genuine feedback, what they think works and doesn't work. It doesn't make them right, but it means that, like, you should consider those, right? It doesn't mean that, like, don't like take it overly personal, right? And I don't for things like that, right? Like you eventually get to the point where like that will whittle down, and you're fine with taking criticisms about things that you make, and you kind of have to if you're going to make systems, right? Because systems, like, doing the system side of game dev, it's not like you make a system, it's gonna be perfect the first time and it's done, right? It requires lots of iteration. Like, you can kind of see in Tunnels, right? I like Tunnels as a system, but it's their first iteration. It's got a lot of rough spots, and being unwilling to going back and changing things shows a degree of, I would say, emotional attachment. Am I going the right way? Am I fucking lost? It basically shows a degree of emotional attachment, to an unhealthy degree. Which is pretty on brand for artists, right? Because, like, you know, their game, their art is their art. So attacks against those, even if they're critical, even if they're genuinely critical, can be taken. Are the hands over there? Am I blind? No, okay, there's nothing. They can be taken as like an emotional attack against them, right? It becomes personal. And I do think some of that's going on. I do think there is a level of degree of personal investment in their creation, which is good, right? Like, you should like own your creation, but at the same time, like, it doesn't mean it's the best that it can be on the first try, or it has its clear flaws and it has its issues and it needs to be iterated upon, right? It's also, like, the problem, too, is if they have no one to say no in the room, then lots of things get made past the point of no return that might have never should and got it greenlit in the first place. Like, if I was a little voice in the room, I would have been like, why are we doing the railgun? Like, can we go look at our Steam page real quick? Why are we making the railgun? And I feel like the answer to that question would have been like, hey, we're making the railgun because lots of people are bitching about unkillables on the Steam forums, on Steam reviews, so on. Like, they don't like unkillables, so let's give them a way to kill them, but in our own way. But like, no, like, you are because you do not want to change how the unkillables work, you are adding something that's even worse to try to fix that issue, when the actual issue at hand here is just how unkillables work. It is that like tenacity to like just not want to rework things that they already have existing. They would rather add something new that ultimately detracts from the game's kind of vision, right? I feel like. Mask Man Grim, for sure. Jack of all trades for the most part. This is a dead end, or does it actually go somewhere? We go somewhere. Well, tedious, yes. I wouldn't say boring, though. It is interesting to, like, I really like the system side of the game dev. I like coming up with systems. I like to see how they interact and how they actually play out. I also like trying to figure out what the fuck players actually want, which is kind of a black box, but, like, there is that degree of reward, right? Of, like, hey, like, the client didn't say this, but you kind of figured out what they were actually asking for. And so now you get a thumbs up. Like, I personally find that pretty rewarding, is like deciphering what the fuck the client wants. Because sometimes they don't do a good job of articulating what they want. Well, the problem of the railgun, right, is that, like, it is violating the rule you just set up that these are some badasses that you just can't kill. But, like, you're now adding this weird stipulation where you can kill them if you're willing to do some weird loop we edit. There's just so much that rubs me wrong about the railgun, right? It's part of the implementation. It's part of the fact that, like, their tagline for the game is like, you're not that guy. But then they add a feature in that you are that guy. It's also that the railgun requires 3 people but only uses 1 to shoot. Yeah. Overall, I think the game would have been better if they just never focused on the railgun in the first place. And like, it's one of those things too where by and large it doesn't affect most of the audience, because most of the audience I would consider probably plays mostly solo. Yeah, and Andrew, so now you just have the AT rifle now. It is now the AT rifle, for example, is them being like, hey, we have lots of complaints about the railgun requiring groups. So now let's just make a railgun that doesn't require a group. That does that? Oh. Oh no, yeah, like the net code is, and that's a thing too of just like, it's another thing showing how like grandiose they wanted to be with their first game, or like their vision. Like there's a certain point where you need to sit yourself down and be like, okay, hey, like, did we not get any fucking foam from this goddamn map? I don't recall getting any foam at all. Whatever. It's like one of those things, right, where like, is like, do we really need to have the co-op in our first game? Do we really need to have X, Y, and Z in our first game? Like, it's about just setting yourself up. It's like, it's a common trap for like actually like newer developers, right? Like just like programmers, right? Is they'll try to bite off this very large project and they'll burn themselves out because they realize that the project's very complicated, right? Because they wanted to do everything.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
Baby steps. All right, medical supplies, go for mods, don't want anything here.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
All right, where are you even gonna run to? Let me follow the conga line. So the problem with multiplayer, right, is that the netcode isn't great, and then like, yeah, it requires, just like PvP requires, having multiplayer does require a bunch of considerations you would have to make when you're making everything else right. Oh wait, sorry, civilian. Sorry. To be fair, like, I'm a pretty rational kind of guy. You can probably tell. Like, I like to think of things in like logical processes and systems. Like, yeah, the way artists do things are pretty like almost not like, what's the right word? Like they're like anti that to a very large degree, and it does drive me up the wall. I might have killed civvies before.
Eyes on us.
What are you understanding from our conversation about hard? We're not talking about hard or easy. Also, are you just here to vent? Because I know you had the falling out with me a while ago. I don't want to say why are you here, but I kind of want to say why are you here? You already know you don't like my rhetoric. Alright, how much fun did we get? Oh, Biggie Chuck had a falling out with me because he doesn't like my rhetoric around the game. Because I'm overly negative. Oh my god, 3 more phobe. 1 more phobe. let's just say they're they're a toxically positive individual when it comes to the game. There can be no faults. They are the inverse of the doomer. When the happy medium is always in between. All right, one more run to give us the foam that we need. I need more things. Yeah, I mean, there is that aspect, right? Blood of like the people who like, if I'm negative, I'm still around, it means I care. There's also the fact in too, is I genuinely, like, people who are in the Discord can genuinely tell when people come in with like very bad or unfair takes, I do correct them. Hold on. Mr. Grooves, like for example, someone on the Discord last night basically mentioned how like they were parroting the like 3 million polygon or triangle sort of argument or like point about optimization. But like for those unaware, essentially like multiple months ago, maybe 6+ months ago, someone on Reddit posted about like how I ripped like Toothy or some model from the game, and look how many triangles it has. It's got millions and millions of triangles. What the hell? This is what the game doesn't run very well. Look how rendered and modeled these things are. No wonder the game runs like shit. Without doing any research or understanding why. Like naturally, if you see a single model have that many triangles, that many polygons, you have to like ask yourself and do some critical thinking. Why might that be the case? Why would this game have like the thing like the Titan have that many triangles? Actually engage in some research and do some critical thinking. And what it is it's nanite. So for those unfamiliar, nanite is the dynamic LOD for UE5. It basically makes things look better or worse depending on how close you are and your proximity and like angle and so on and so forth. So what it does is it basically puts a nanite mesh over every single model that has nanite enabled and gives it millions and millions of these triangles, but it never renders anywhere close to that. They're used for basically determining what is shown to you, essentially, right? In a very layman's term. But, like, for example, I can take a Megascan rock. For those unfamiliar, Megascans are basically like the real-life scans of rocks, that the raw actual file will be like 3 gigabytes, right? It's a giant object or textured object in game, right? Or in you know, UE5. Like a single object that's like 3+ gigabytes of storage. So very, very detailed. I can add that with a nanite mesh into UE5, and it will have millions and millions and millions of these triangles or polygons, whatever you want to call them. But when I'm actually in engine rendering it, you want to know how many triangles it shows? 10,000. 10,000. So like, yes, if you export the model from UE5 to Blender without doing any considerations at all because of how nanite works, you're going to see all of those raw polygons. But that's not what's being rendered in game. And if the person who posted it had any good faith at all, if they were acting in good faith, they would have genuinely done that research and realized that they were wrong right off the rip. And not said this wild, stupid fucking take that's so easily can just refute it immediately. Yes, it's a time-saving measure. Just like Lumen and Nanite are ways of smaller developers getting somewhat professional-looking metrics or why don't they care about scale? Anyway, it's a way for like smaller developers or like developers who want to streamline things to get somewhat professional-looking both LODs and lighting very quickly. Baked lighting looks better than Lumen and performs better than Lumen, but baked lighting has its own caveats, right? It's generally very time consuming, along with, yeah, there's, I'm not gonna get into full nuance of baked lighting, but by and large, baked lighting is a very slow process, especially if you have lots of maps. So it's like we would not have the amount of maps we have currently if we did baked lighting. Yeah, it's basically static because you're baking it right. Like, you can't just, like, if you... Dead end again? Okay. Guess we're not going this way. If you do your baked lighting on a map, basically, the way baked lighting works, right, is you set up your lights in the map, you run your baking, and basically what that does is it renders all of the lights for you in-game, and, like, basically makes them kind of sort of static. It's oversimplification, but that's essentially what it's doing. Okay, so the problem I have with scale, though, Blood, is it makes the whole setting so thoroughly inconsistent. Like, when I think of kit bashing, I think of different parts and different models. I don't think of, like, making the model 3 times bigger than it normally was, or 2 times smaller than it normally was, right? Like, those are things that bother me. When I think of kit bashing, I just think of, like, you know, I think of, like, kit bashing in regards to, like, 40K, right? Of, like, mixing models together, not making the model vastly bigger or smaller randomly. Because the problem is, like, right, the Titans, for example, have the issue, not that, right, Frozen Swamp has the issue, right, where you have 2 of these tanks, like, 10 feet from each other, that's, like, it's like 100 meters from each other, that are, like, vastly different sizes, but they're the exact same tank. It looks weird. May I have some foam, please, sir? Also, I can't actually say, this is before I signed an NDA, I did ask him about it, and I don't think there was a good response. They didn't even say kit bashing as an actual response to it. It kind of just felt like it was an afterthought. Like, I don't want to, like, you can give them, I'm not going to say it's unfair to give them the benefit of the doubt to say it is just kit bashing related. I think it's just more of, like, what fits in the scene related, right? Well, but that's kind of the problem, though, Blood, right? Is that we're playing an extraction shooter, right? Where we're going to these same locations hundreds of times. Yeah, this was dead end, I think, both sides, right? Are we not over here, though? It looks like dead end over there. Let's go back. 22 gallons of acorns? That's a lot of fucking acorns. Alright, Mr. Grooves. I have a real important question for you. And I need you to answer honestly. Are you a squirrel? Did you bury your stash? Saving it for winter? It's another consideration too, right? He might actually just be a, he might be like, he wants to be Lord of the Squirrels. I mean, that's pretty smart, right? Squirrels get, the only problem I would say is that, like, definitely make them, like, make sure they're probably the same sex squirrels, or get them neutered, I guess, and spayed. just because a 2 scroll problem quickly becomes a much larger scroll problem. Because you know what rodents love to do. They love to procreate in vast quantities. Though, I guess, okay, so here, okay, what you can actually do is you can start this vicious cycle. You get 2 squirrels, you let them do their thing for like a year or 2, you suddenly realize that you have way too many squirrels, and then you get a hawk. Or get a bird of prey. The circle of life. Well, so, Blood, I would agree with you more if they were leaning heavier into, like, heavy into that, right, with their actual game and systems. Because by and large, Blood, the game is a straight, man. Like, there is nothing, like, unique or creative or, like, artistic about the actual gameplay loops, right? Or the actual game itself. Sure, the art is, the design is, but, like, the systems and, like, the feeling of the game feels very just generic and general, like, distilled extraction shooters for, like, base genre, right? It doesn't feel like they work together in that regard. May I have some foam, please? Or not. Well, like, so Blood, that's the part of, like, having, like, being able to temper your like, not temper your expectations, like, that's part of, like, being honest with yourself and being like, hey, you know, we shouldn't try and, like, they should do, like, lean more into the artistic side of things on their game side too, right? Because, like, if I'm playing a very generic sort of extraction shooter, like, let me actually just say this, for example, Blood, though, right? At what point do they ever, themselves, not Rillo, ever really market their game as that? Because, by and large, they market their game as just, yeah, like a grimdark tactical shooter, right? Like, what point in that basically screams that this is a surreal, like, hellish artistscape? It doesn't, right? Like, should that be their interpretation from the art? I think it's kind of unfair if you're expecting the general Steam audience to be like, yeah, I see this grimdark art and now I know this game is surreal. Yeah, I don't think we need to be milset by any means. Like, at no point does either the gameplay or, like, the marketing ever kind of, like, push that narrative at all. And so, am I wrong to expect kind of a game that feels a bit more, logically consistent? Yeah, I mean, so wait, my first video was on it. Like, you mean like the mech unit, like just the deep dives, or the actual, like, big one? I mean, I still recommend the game. It just depends on the context, right? Like, I'll basically be like, hey, are you looking more for a game or more for a vibe? And I will add more to that, right? In the sense of, like, this is not a game for everyone, but it's certainly a game for some people. Some people are willing to look past the flaws, and that's fine, right? Some people can't, and that's also fine.
Perfection.
Oh, I never had access. I want to make that abundantly clear. There is one video where I've gotten anything from Fundog. That is the Gunhead video. The Gunhead video, they sent me the lore tidbits about Gunhead, like this journal vlog of him, like 2 days before the patch released. So essentially like, all right, make a video in 2 days. Which that's not my workflow. Especially when I like, you know, yeah, this is not my workflow. I did not appreciate only 2 days in advance of that. Anyway, because it gave me basically no time to edit the script at all. So basically, the Gunhead video is almost verbatim what they sent me, except for a few things for spoken English as opposed to written English. But like, I want to make it abundantly clear. Outside of that video, everything I have made is speculation or from in-game lore, which there's not a lot of, so basically it's just speculation. Like, the Forever Winter, the long one too, right, is like, I made it abundantly clear on purpose that the first 8 minutes is the stuff that we know, and everything after that is the stuff we don't fucking know. And I have no insider knowledge at all on if that means anything, or sorry, like I have no insider knowledge of like getting additional information. And I would go as far to say that like I am personally comfortable with saying that the lore in this game currently is just a way of gluing unit art together, full stop. Like, there's ideas and vibes, I feel like, behind the lore, but deeper than that, there's not. There is not a lot of intricate webs of, like, deep lore for them to, like, expose to you guys. They have to come up with it first. Andrew, I actually... I disagree about your sentiment because, yes, like, okay, so you are right in the sense that people love to bitch about early access without understanding what the early access is. You are correct. But what the point I think you're missing here is that if you just strictly take Fundog's marketing of their, please don't, just fuck off, please. You buggy ass dog. Please go around. You're missing the part where if you look at their own marketing videos of the game on their YouTube channel, if you look at their Steam page, it doesn't do a good job of translating what they're really leaning into, as opposed to what they've said. And like Rillo does this too, but I can't fault Rillo because Rillo's a third-party source. Like, I can't fault Fundog for a Rillo video, right? Even if Rillo got a lot of his stuff from Fundog, because ultimately Rillo's in charge of that script, I would think, and so it's gonna have that his grand wall version of like making things seem bigger than they are. That's not on them. But their own videos, I will hold them accountable to, right? And so if people saw their, like, personally, I didn't watch Rillo until after I started playing this game. And the main reason why I got this game is because I watched their YouTube videos, right? They're not Rillo's Fundogs. That's what sold me on the game. That's what sold Nightmare on the game. You wanna know what Nightmare's doing? Not fucking playing the game, because that's not what they sold him. So like, yeah, you are right in the sense that, yeah, people bitch about early access way too much. Like, and for the people who are strictly into the art, yeah, you are getting what you were sold. But the people who were sold a game, not so much. And that's a distinction, right? It's why when I recommend this game is like a, hey, are you really just here for the vibes, or do you want an actually like concrete gameplay experience? And if any of them said like I'm mostly here for the art because I like the art and the music and like that, yeah, get the game. It's on sale. I think it's still on sale right now. But like if you need a game to be a game first, this isn't the game for you.
Everyone put
Get me out of here. My take on the Guns Blood is that considering the amount of issues they are having with updating the guns and making them polished, I would remove half of them from the game in an instant. Considering like they were from this, like, to my knowledge, from January of March of this year, they were working on guns. They were updating guns. It took them 3 months to work on guns, but you want to know all they had to show for it is CJV. Have a good one. As all they were able to show for is they finally were able to fix all of the attachments to be actually like in the right spot, to connect to the characters, to make it look all well and good, right? That's what they spent their 3 months doing. And the reason was because they have 44 guns with like overall like 100 plus attachments, right, between all of them. That's so insanely time consuming to make a bunch of guns that are more vibes than they are actually interesting gameplay wise. Like, I don't really want or need like 500 different variants of an AK or like, sorry, or assault rifle just for vibes. Like, sure, I'm not gonna say remove all of the ones that are strictly there for aesthetics, like M4, AK, RPK are all fine and well, but like, do we really need a TKB? Do we really need an M16? Do we really need all of these? Do we even need pistols at all? When we are looking at the wall and saying, this is going to take 3 months of our limited time to do, is it not better to just remove all of the very redundant guns? Let's go, but probably because the P90 is awful. And I will say this, I will say the AT rifle is, I believe, Miles's design. I think it looks really cool. I question why it's an AT rifle when it looks like a bullpup, but like I would have much preferred if they leaned into like those like models, right, and just having a few of them. I would have preferred like 15 well done guns that all had their own use case in the game, as opposed to 44 like fully modular guns, not mostly modular guns, that just are an endless time sink for them. And the thing is, like, Nicholas, right, it's like if you wanted to keep pistols, like, you would keep the Glock, you would keep like a 45 pistol, but like we have like what, 5 or 6 different 9mm pistols. We have like what, 3 or 4, like I think 3, maybe 2 only USB pistols or 45 pistols. There's a lot of redundancy. Well, the reason why, Andrew, is a lot of those attachments don't do anything. They are strictly vibe versus attachments. No.
whittle them down and we can break out.
Is there a way around it? I think there is to the left. Yeah, by and large, the only things that matter are silencer and magazine capacity. The rest of the attachments are just vibes. The recoil and stability stat, like, if you go to an extreme, it might do something. I went from like having 25 recoil to like basically I think 3 or like very like nothing recoil. There might have been a difference, but that might have been me looking for a difference. Well, that's kind of my point, right? In the sense of, if Blood, my point is basically this with the guns, right? Where like, if it's gonna take you so long to do like good work on the guns, but like, I would rather you have a small amount of Survivor, very well done guns than an endless amount of basically useless guns. It also like lets you too, if you have a, I just think that their whole attachment system is kind of a mistake, because it just, from a gameplay and balancing perspective, it's kind of just this very deep mire. Like, if you're not going to include a sound system to help make suppressors actually have some nuance, then maybe just don't have suppressors outside of bespoke guns that actually have like inbuilt suppressors. But no, like, that's the reason why like I have issue with guns, is because like it feels it felt that it was a waste of their time to have so many guns that required so much work for them to ultimately end up with something that feels not that great, because all they're there is for aesthetics mainly. I mean, I'm fucking just jealous of Helldiver's gunplay in comparison. Well, like, that's kind of my point, Blood, too, of like, they sort of have an issue, it felt like, or it feels like, where like, they have these grand wall design. It's once again, like, an like example of someone biting off more than they can chew because they want the whole package, when they don't understand that, like, you know, having a well-done smaller package is better than having a bigger but functionally useless package. And it's a trap too of motivation too, right? Because like, has none, like, this is a pretty common trope for humans, right? Where like we bite off more than we can chew, and we realize later on, like, this was kind of a mistake. I should not have done this. Like, it's better to have a small project that you complete than an endless project that just never done. Oh, Vivid, I was genuinely pissed when they fixed the integrated suppressor. So genuinely pissed. Exactly, Babe. So like, Babe, you're basically approaching it from like a gameplay perspective, right? You're basically asking yourself, what gameplay functionality should these guns present to the player, and like the differences between them. Well, it's a problem with visionaries, right? And like, Chris Roberts is the same way. Chris Roberts is like, there is a reason why Chris Roberts was not given money at all. It's why he had to go to crowdfunding for Star Citizen, right? Because no publisher would give him fucking money. And here we are, what, like 13, 15 years later, still without it not being out because Chris Roberts is Chris Roberts. Thankfully, I think I feel like they finally have gotten the show on the road, but like, think of how much money they burned and time they burned because Chris Roberts was Chris Roberts. At the same time, it's important to have visionaries like that, because those grandeur claims like are good things to shoot for, but they need to be tempered too. And the problem with having those visionaries in charge is those visionaries are usually emotionally invested in their visions, right? Their ideas. It is part of them, right? And to critique that is in a way to potentially attack them personally, even if that's not your intent, like even if you're trying to like bring up an actual flaw with their vision, you are now antagonistic to them. And what is scarier that, like, if you guys ever been in an office before, I fucking abhor office politics, but it exists. The game has to be played. It's a game that fucking, I hate it with every ounce of my fucking heart, but it exists. And nothing is scarier than having the person in charge of payroll also be in charge of the vision. Because it suddenly becomes a very dangerous scenario when you have to present issues with their vision. Are you someone trying to help, or are you someone just bringing down the vibes? Are you being a negative Nancy? Do you need to see yourself the door? I mean, I will caveat that despite, like, okay, you have to understand, I think this gives me some merit too. So there are people who I think view me as overly negative, but you have to understand though too, I buy into and invest in these projects because I want them to succeed. And so when I feel there is some misalignment between the game and the vision and like where it's going to succeed, I start taking issue. I backed Firefall, I backed Warframe, I backed Star Citizen. I have backed plenty of projects that are still either in limbo, have died and moved on, or so on and so forth, right? And I have seen how these companies fail. And it's always from mismanagement. Because the person who has a great vision also can't fucking control themselves. Warframe is doing good, 100%. Go look at Firefall. And like, there's probably endless games too that I'm not mentioning. It's important to make sure we don't ignore the bodies among the people who are still standing. I tried Soulframe, and I'm like, what the living fuck is this? Like, is there a game here? Apologies if any Soulframe enthusiasts are in chat right now. I gave Soulframe like a genuine chance, and I was so fucking confused during the entire time. It felt like some fucking fever dream for like, it felt like someone's fever dream. Yeah, and it is a game where like, what is like the literal fucking point of what I am doing here? And like the gameplay is so very just not there either. It's very just one-dimensional, it feels like. Yeah, I'll maybe try it again later, but Soulframe did not leave me with a good impression. I did not watch the Game Awards. Oh no, I'm a backer of Warframe. I have Excalibur Prime. I gave them money forever ago. Like, I enjoyed Warframe for what it is. I would probably never get into it again because it just feels like a game designed for people with lots more free time than I do, who are willing to put all that time into a single game. It feels like it requires a lot of investment. It didn't really feel like Soulframe was similar to Warframe at all. They felt like completely different games. And like, the combat in Soulframe just didn't really feel all that interesting either. No, the gameplay felt very generic and uninspired. So lowbrow, yeah, I mean, like, yes, but no. I would rather us, like, here's the thing, lowbrow. I would be much more okay with getting a good baseline of guns first and then adding more slowly later, Like, make the guns that we currently have, or make a small selection of guns actually matter first, and make them actually well polished and like fully realized, and then maybe work on the rest later. But like, there are different games for what you want in that regard, right? If you want lots of guns, like, that doesn't mean the developer should put themselves in the gun mire at the cost of everything else, right? Like, you realize, if they're spending months and months of work on guns, that's taking away from something else, because all of their programmers and coders are multifunctional, right? They're doing everything. There is a cost, and I don't think the cost of having lots of guns is worth it, considering that like there's the also extra cost of like it makes all the guns less interesting because they don't have they don't have time to spend all their time on all of them. It's like, it's fantasy Warframe. It does feel like it has some like, it's hard to describe Soulframe. It's certainly unique, but I'm not sure if it's unique in a good way. Like, that's the problem with Soulframe, is like, I'm gonna give this a genuine try because I'm interested in it. I want to see what they've done with it, but I was like constantly asking myself, okay, when is the game going to get here? It by and large like felt like this melding of like, yeah, like a little bit of Warframe, but not that all that much. Like it did feel very Elden Ringy to some extent, yeah. Like if it felt Elden Ringy in the sense of like, it's like Elden Ring and like a JRPG had a child. And not like a Final Fantasy JRPG, but like, I mean, like just more of like a regular like hack and slash JRPG. It definitely felt like it had some like anime or like some like very sort of like Eastern styles of art and mood to it, which I will go ahead and predicate. I am not a fan of that type of art or game, so like that usually immediately throws me off a game. So yeah, just keep that in mind. That's just a disclaimer about like how I interact with that type of media. I don't really care for Final Fantasy. I don't really care for like any JRPGs really. I genuinely don't give a shit about anime. I know that might be heresy. Now keep in mind, I am not saying anime is bad. That's an important distinction here, right? But I just don't give a shit about it at all. It's why, for example, when I keep being told of like, why don't you, you don't find this really cool? Like, we're paying homage to this anime. It's like, I don't watch anime, so no, I don't give a shit. No, I don't know your weird manga reference, sorry. Hey, Bob.
Everyone for themselves.
Yeah, I'm more of like a classical D&D and 40k guy. I'm much more for like the Western Grimdark kind of stuff. Like I like the like, the semi-realistic, depressing sort of stuff. Oh no, like lowbrow, no, 100%. There's lots of issues in that regard in the game in regards to like hey, like right now the game asks you actually to spend a lot of your time in the tunnels, right? Grinding for foam or for other things. There's not a whole lot of reasons to go to the surface. You are correct. I haven't played Scrapyard in a while. I haven't played Mesa in a while. I haven't played Scorch in a while. I haven't played lots of maps because there's not a reason to go to any of them. And by and large too, like the equation is very off kilter right now, when like the game wants you to spend you know, 30 minutes in tunnels to do like 5 minutes of a cemetery, basically, because that's how long cemetery takes to play, basically. Mr. Grooves, that is very much just modern day internet, though. There is it's interesting from like an anthropological perspective, but it is also very just fucking weird and cringe. Like the whole thing with like gooding being acceptable behavior now, or just like just common behavior. I don't think we got a lot of foam. Are we actually gonna be like a one short? I don't think we got our 2 foam. The EXO did cut us off of doing a lot of TLD farming, so that might have hurt us a lot too. Please tell me I don't have to go back. Please don't make me go back. Please don't make me go back. We didn't get any. No. I've been cursed. Yes, Father, I will run tunnels again. Thank you for asking. God, the problem is, there's so much like that would need to be changed. The water is the easy part, though. The water is the easy part. I'm not concerned with the water, because the water is just a strict time equation. We're working on the bar right now. Like, there's no RNG with grinding water. The problem is like there are so many just something means when you say something it usually implies one thing. If I'm gonna do a classic like genie faux pas, and I'm gonna do something that's very general and it's kind of like multiple wishes in one. I want them to start connecting things together. I want their bar to be related to things like reputation. I want their quests to influence other things. I want their items to be better. Or like not, like I want the IRL timer to be gone. Like there's like so many small things. Essentially, like the biggest thing I will say, like the root of all my frustration is that everything seems like silos and plateaus. And to elaborate upon what I mean, is there's no gradients, there's just sheer climbs. There is no connection between systems, there's just these isolated systems.
Hey, watch my back.
Yeah, they have radar towers, right, that don't have a lot of functionality with any other system in the game. Like, all of their systems, like, they don't think of their systems in regards to how it interacts with other things. They think of their systems in regards to moods and storyboards. When they're thinking of their radar towers, they're thinking of, wouldn't it be cool to have these, like, cool antenna towers on the map that players can interact with to do something? They don't ask themselves, okay, well, like, how is that, like, we could have that, but how is it going to interact with everything else? And if their idea of that was Theaters of War is very much unrealized right now. I still feel like the Stillwalker was the, like, I feel like the Stillwalker came out, and it was, the Stillwalker, okay, interestingly enough, they've added tons of new units in the game. They have never called them unfinished. They added the Stillwalker to the game, and in their patch notes, they explicitly said it was unfinished. I genuinely think the Stillwalker was them being like, oh shit, the poll didn't go how we wanted it to go. We need to release a Europa unit now, even if it's unfinished. They were probably rolling the proverbial die and hoping that the audience would vote for fucking Yoruska so they could release Mr. Cold Cuts and pretend like they were doing us a fucking favor. That's an end, okay. There's not really a whole point to touch them, really, because the system that you would, like, the system that is presented to you from the radar towers doesn't interact with everything else. Or anything else. The Stillwalker looks cool, but it just gets bugged out quickly. Like, it's the problem too, right, is that when they, like, you have this cool, badass Stillwalker, but it has the same problem of every mech unit where it doesn't do enough damage, and so it gets stuck against the unit that's trying to kill. Momentum, I'm basically just going through the motions here. I'm mainly just talking to you guys. I am not looking at the screen all that much, actually, which is kind of deadly considering titles, but we'll see how it goes. I think it's moods, right? Like, I get in similar moods too, right? Where I want to work on a particular thing. Like, there's no shame in that, but the shame is in lying about it. Or pretending like you were, like, trying to do us a favor by having us vote on a unit you wanted to release. Foam, okay, there's one. If I do get 2 foam, I can just leave. I don't need to actually go to, like, tunnel C and D. I just need 2 foam. I would be very... They're not. There's no shot they're doing that. No, Stillwalker is unkillable. Stillwalker probably doesn't have a death animation, so like they made him intentionally unkillable because he does not have a death animation. So like when he dies, he probably just T-poses. Okay, there we go. Jesus, these fucking chords, dude. Let's go this way first. Well, like, yeah, so like, bro, that's a good point too. Like, it doesn't really meaningfully impact anything, right? It lets you see theaters of war in regards to like what percentage faction controls each map, but that doesn't influence anything, right? And because it's based off the IRL timer too, like you don't get a certain amount of runs of having knowledge. It basically says like, if you're not gonna use this immediately, then you're shit out of luck. That's also the problem with the IRL timer too, right? It basically says like, for the theaters of war system, if you want to use this, you have to play consecutive sessions back to back in a single day. Which seems antithetical to like, there's a degree of knowing your audience, right? Like you're making a PvE extraction shooter game. You are by nature going to attract a more casual audience to your game. You can still make it a hardcore game. You don't have to make it artificially easy. But like there are certain quality of life features you need to include. Like there's no reason to add the arbitrary requirement of like a, hey, you know, this is only for hardcore gamers who spend 15 hours a day playing a game. It can still be hardcore, but like respect the player's time by not making them play consecutively to receive the benefit of something. Yeah, like that's basically what I'm saying. Like I am I would prefer anything over nothing, even if it's not something I would personally think is the right idea. Like, I just want to see some systemic influences cross-system, right? I want to see things connected together. I want to feel things connected together, right? Like, that's part of the problem with, like, getting yourself immersed in this game, I feel like, is because the systems are so, like, siloed and disconnected, it doesn't really feel like a cohesive picture, right? It feels like all of these things are disjointed. I need one more phone, please. Just one more phone. If I could get it here too and not have to actually go do tunnels C and D, or tunnel D rather, that'd be great too. Yeah, that's like you kind of just hit the nail on the head, Mr. Goose, right? It needs to be meaningful and useful. It needs to feel like it matters. It doesn't matter for everything, but it has to matter for something. Please, I beg of thee, just a single foam. Yeah, for sure. Just like, even just the small things like that, right? It doesn't need to be, once again, it doesn't need to be very complex. It just needs to be something, right? Brother, please. Oh. I feel like armor's been brought up so many times at this point where it feels like, is this the same? Did we come in this way? Am I crazy? Oh, we're good, okay. I feel like they have to have considered armor at this point because it's brought up by so many people at so many different times that I feel like it's had to have crossed their mind at one point, so it has to feel like there's a reason why they're not doing it. Like, it's not a novel idea, right? It's still an interesting one. I would still love to see armor in the game, but there's clearly something about armor that they don't want to include it for reason, like include it for right reason, right? They do technically speak. I will say, armor is an example of a system that's not binary, and it seems that they really do prefer their systems to be on or off, right? Like, your silencer is either on or off, right? There's not a gradient when silencers are making noise. Fuck you. Fucking silent ass tunnel exos. Like, it generally just feels like they're pretty adverse to systems with any kind of gradient. I mean, armor is, so the reason I would phrase it, Blood, is that armor is in a way where you can make units unkillable, but make it feel a lot. You were around a fucking corner. Oh man. I mean, we saw it too earlier, right? But like, I thought it was behind a wall, and I guess it was still seeing me. And it didn't show its aggro meter either. It's whatever. It wasn't really a surprise. I knew it was there. I was surprised by the fact that aggroed, But I mean, I saw it there earlier. I just thought it was like on the other side of a wall where it couldn't apparently see me, but apparently it did. Don't you like having agency ripped away from you though? Isn't removing the ability to play the game fun, Blood? Don't you love being helpless in a video game? Doesn't it make it an oppressive vibe? Don't you feel oppressed right now? Don't you feel the world is harsh and unfair and uncaring? Isn't that fun? Are you not having fun? It just sits dormant there for fucking decades, not even patrolling. I will say, by and large, you want to know whose idea was the stun lock? It was Miles. Not the knockdown. And this was before the NDA, so I can say this. I literally told him, you cannot have this get pushed to live in its current shape. You need to have the ability to interact when you get knocked down. It can't just be a 5-second stun lock. And that's literally what it is. It is a 5-second fucking stun lock that can be chained. At that point, just kill him. Just have the Exo one-shot the player. It is quicker that way. Because, like, at that point, that's basically what you're alluding to when you have a system like that, right? If you're going to kill the player over 10 seconds, you might as well kill the player immediately. If it's deterministic either way. And then the extra added on benefit is like, if you want to spam your keyboard, maybe you can get up quicker. I'm not gonna fucking break my mechanical keyboard so I can stand up quicker to do a mechanic that shouldn't exist in the first place. See a survivor. We're not doing the dead end today. We don't need to tack on things to mitigate a shitty mechanic. I would have preferred a mini game to recover faster, yes, over spamming your keyboard. Quick K2E, better than spamming the keyboard. you're gonna hear me one day spamming the keyboard to kick it quicker. It's like, you're gonna be like, what are you doing over there? Why are you making so much noise? It's like, sorry, this mechanic in the game wants me to fucking spam my keyboard over and over again so I can maybe not die to a shitty mechanic. Sorry if that's making a ton of noise across the room. Oh, Mr. Chris, that's 100% right. Like, if a mechanic's going to leave a player deterministically dead, don't make it drawn out over fucking a year. Blood Panda, I will say, they did go the way of the dodo for the most part, but I think that's because they were mainly overused. There was that period in like late 2000s, early 2010s, where like every game had them, and so they became fucking just too overused. But like having them occasionally exist in games, I think is fine. They can be good in that context. The problem is like, yeah, Call of Duty, right? Is that you just can't have the game be solely comprised of them.
Hey, I live for this. Please, give me time.
Oh no, like lowbrow for sure. Like there's not progression in this game. Artificial grinds are not progression. Like at the most, there's really only 2 buildings that add progression to the game. That being the special projects building, and technically the bar. The only reason why I can consider bar progression is because of the AT rifle. because the AT rifle does open up a new avenue for players to dealing with threats themselves, and that technically falls under progression. I still would be like, this. I don't feel like this really counts all that much, but it technically counts as progression. But like everything else in the game isn't progression. The railgun quest for Bunko is technically progression because it does unlock the railgun for you, but like by and large, when you are playing this game, within the spans of like 4 to 5 hours, of if you are like well versed in the game, you basically like have done, you're now in like the end game basically, right? You're like maybe grinding for the bar for the AT rifle, but you can get the good stuff, the stuff that you need that quickly. Well, the HMD is not even progression though, right? It doesn't even actually, like, the HMD doesn't give you access to content you wouldn't normally be able to do otherwise. So, let me elaborate. When I say progression, what I mean progression in the sense of it lets the player do something new or gives the player a new tool that modifies the gameplay. Think of it this way. When I'm talking about gameplay, I'm talking about verbs. It's about what verbs can the player do. And progression is traditionally about altering those, adding to or altering those verbs. Do you hear footsteps? Am I crazy? Was my muffin mind? Well, you could like, so like that's what I was mentioning before, Beat Boop, in regards to like tying in systems together, because if you tied in reputation and quests with the bar, you now have a much more grounded system for quests and reputation, right? It now feels all connected together, even if very lightly, right? Okay, there's definitely an Orgamech above us. So like if your reputation affected both your quests, the people inside your bar and so on and so forth, it would feel like this complete picture of a system, right? You. Up we go. Do I have a stem? Yeah, stem. Stab. Or like stuff like that, and maybe not like perks, but like, yeah, like it's like it allows you to maybe treat reputation as a currency, or like favors for favors, or so on and so forth. There's a lot you could do with it, right? There's not really a wrong answer per se.
This is it. Decide what happens next.
You guys have very heavy feet. I thought you were Orgamech. Are you locked off? Yeah, you're behind the skull pile. Foam. See that we've done a loop. That's the entrance point. We've done a goddamn loop. That's the point where like blood, where like there was a phrase they use in Q&As a lot of puzzle pieces falling into place, and I have yet to see any of those puzzle pieces falling into place. So until I see an instance of that, I have to call their bluff. That's basically where I am at, right? Like if you're gonna use that terminology of like puzzle pieces falling into place, like, you know, it's all gonna mesh together at one point, you need to show me an example at this point a year later, or I'm not gonna believe you. Nice, Joaquin. We're about there. We're 2 foam away. I think we're still 2. I don't think I got any foam from this map yet. The XM one, I think the XM one has only 4 shots as opposed to 6, but I think it shoots faster. If I recall too, the XM scope is still broken, so you kind of have to just like get a feel for it. But I think that's the difference, right? Is the XM has less ammo, but can shoot faster. I mean, so like the only thing I mean, that makes sense, but like I can see where you're going here, but really, like I'm not sure. I wouldn't necessarily consider the grenade launcher from the quest as progression, because you can just buy one from Grillo. Like it's a collectible sort of thing, right? It is content in that regard, but I wouldn't call it progression. Because remember, there's that difference too. Like there is content and there's progression, and it feels like they're focusing on content. And by and large, people wanted content, right? I can't blame them for focusing on content, but like, content can only get you so far, right? Like that's usually how games begin to sort of like, I think, dwindle over time. There always will be that natural decay, but like, content can't always be the name of the game. There has to be progression. Andrew, I don't think they have high-level divides, because like they're a bunch. Keep in mind, so the way the studio was founded, right? It's a bunch of like ex-game developers, or artists for game developers who are kind of like who were friends or peers, and they made a studio together, right? So like, I get the sense that the people in that company are all very chummy with one another, right? I feel like if you aren't chummy, or aren't like, if you're not part of the vibe, you don't become part of the team. It's basically, right, a bunch of friends making a game together, which is perfectly all fine and well. It just means that they're going to have the natural biases a group like that would have. I think that's kind of their intent design, it feels like, is that they are just trying to pad out the runtime in a way. They are thinking that like what they are lacking is like, yes, they were lacking like things to chase after, and they're giving us that now, but like it's not progression. It's a dragon to chase. It's not progression. Well, it kind of becomes like the whole thing I was mentioning earlier. Like I will say, this is not like the case. This is just me shooting theories at the wall, as I do. There's that whole thing, right? We're talking about like visionaries earlier, right? Of like how visionaries might be a bit emotionally invested in their ideas and their visions, and the way to cover their skill gap would be people who are willing to be critical of that, right? That kind of to in a way put it, harsh the vibes. Brother, may I please have some foam? I need 2 foam. 2. Hey, Mr. Grooves. You too. Alright, oh my god, foam. That's the way out. We want to go over this way to get foam, though. Hopefully we don't find an exo friend again. Hey, Corrupt. No, yeah, they like, if you haven't played for a while, yeah, they have updated a lot. There's a lot of extra content in the game. And essentially, to like bring you somewhat up to speed, we were essentially talking about like well, lots of different things, but just sort of how they have some, like, it feels like they have some blind spots in regards to their current game that they might not want, like they feels like they need to address, but like they aren't addressing. But that is what it is. Exo? No exo. All right, we're good. That's a healthy approach too, Crypt, to say, I will say, is just like coming back after a couple months will give you like lots of content to digest, because I do think that like their monthly content cycle doesn't really add a whole lot per month, so coming back monthly is nice. I wouldn't say the game's faults per se, like we are kind of mentioning that, but the core of the thing we've been kind of talking about sort of kind of is how a lot of the things feel kind of disconnected, and it would feel nice if like things were connected a bit more, had more context behind them. And like I brought up a few times, right, how like the new things like the bar are kind of more of like content grinds as opposed to progression, and how that's kind of it, right? Like how it feels like they're more of like chase goals, things to keep you engaged by grinding, but without actually having a reason why to grind them. Lost, it is not. There's no PvP in this game. It is strictly PvE. There is technically co-op and friendly fire, but like there's no PvP in this game, really. Yeah, it basically corrupted like the kind of the story I was telling here, in the sense of essentially the vibe is that like they have some blind spots, probably by their own design, that they just don't want to shore up, just because of how visionaries, essentially kind of like a very quick cliff notes is like, I was basically mentioning how like if you think of like Chris Roberts and their visionaries, right, like, or Steve Jobs, people who are like creative or like in charge of things, like they manage to get themselves in charge of things, right? They by their very nature, they kind of they aren't unhealthy, but they promote an unhealthy political environment, right? Because it means the people who are in charge of the company, and essentially in charge of your job, are also the people who are the creatives, which means you can't ever, there is always this caution, this very tightrope you have to walk in regards to critiquing them or critiquing their ideas, because they're emotionally attached to them. It's why visionaries are so good at like presenting their ideas, is because you can tell there's passion behind it, right? They have that emotional layer behind what they're pitching you, because they're not solely pitching you just a game, they're pitching you an experience, right? A story, a feeling. They're very good at marketing their ideas, but it also means that any attack against those ideas, any critiques against those ideas, like how do we actually make those ideas come true? How do we make the systems work with those ideas and make them come to life? And sometimes when you have to say no to certain things, right? You are attacking their idea, their emotion. And environments like that can become kind of the psychopathic like loops, right? Where, for better or for worse, the visionary's in charge. And you can see like fail cases of that, right? Like there's a reason why no publisher would give Chris Roberts money. There's a reason why Star Citizen's like 13 years in development. It's gotten constant reworks. There's a reason why Firefall failed. They're usually always mismanagement, because the person in charge is not a manager, they're a visionary. They're creative. It's not game, it's more office politics. This is the politics that arise in any social situation, basically, over prolonged periods of times. Tippy boop. Have a good Christmas. Where's my goddamn foam? I just need a little bit more foam, please. Yeah, this is not something that's bespoke or like potentially, like this is not a Fun Dog only issue if it exists. This is just general environmental, like how businesses operate, and the people in charge of them. Yeah, it's more of like, not necessarily damn humans, but it's damn like stubbornness, right? Or like, it's I don't want to say damn ego, because like having ego is a good and bad thing, right? It's more about being willing to abandon your ego, or like not hold it. Like what am I trying to say here? Basically, hold on. I don't think having. It's important to have ego, right? Because ego is your self-respect. It means that you value yourself, which is so thoroughly important. You could say that like lots of millennials or even younger kids nowadays have issues with ego because either they're posturing and faking like they have it, or they don't have any at all, right? There's just like dichotomy between this. Oh god, I said the word dichotomy, fuck. Anyway, fucking, oh god. Anyway, the memes. Where was I going with this? But like it's like all things, right? Where you need to have something, but it needs to be managed and tempered, right? It needs to be, but you both need to have enough to have it be healthy for your self-respect, but not have enough to the point where you're arrogant or blind to boom. Yeah, oh my god, there's one. Blind to things, right? Or willing to admit that sometimes you might not have the best ideas. And that's okay. As a person who lives and learns through failure, I am very well versed in failing in my first few attempts at doing things, and being okay with those failures. Yeah, I don't want to say necessarily it's big heads, but it's that like that level. I don't think it's malicious, right, or like intentful. It's a degree of having pride in their work. I'm aware of it. I don't do exploits or things like that on stream just because I don't want to like have players who are newer or players who, I don't want the stream to become about how to do exploits and how to do like mods or how to do things like that, right? I present the game for how it is, and that's literally it. For better or for worse. There's a reason why I didn't show off. There was a railgun exploit for the longest time. I never showed it off on stream because I don't want to promote that, but I would mention it exists for people who cared. I did tell them that it exists, go look for it, but I never wanted to advertise it because you want to know why it's removed now, because people kept talking about it. If you post the railgun exploit in every social channel known to man, Reddit, Steam discussions, Discord, X, Y, and Z, yeah, the devs are going to see it by chance eventually. And I wanted those players who really wanted to play solo and have the ability to use the railgun to be able to do so. Because, like, ultimately at the end of the day, right, this is a PvE game. I don't give a shit if you cheat or exploit or mod at all, right? PvP games, yeah, I care if you do those things. PvE, do whatever the fuck you want, it's your game. Dream, there was an update at the end of November. We are currently playing it. They added the Baron, which is like an end game unlock or like a late game unlock that requires lots of stuff. December, it's like if they're doing one, I would expect around Christmas time. They've always seemed to be pushing patches at the end of the month. If they're gonna do one, I would expect. I have no idea if they're gonna do one or not. We have one foam. We need one more foam. Did I go over there already? I think I did, right? Yeah, I like, once again, like, I do hope they revisit tunnels eventually, because it really needs some iteration. I love the concept and mood behind tunnels, but the game currently asks for too much of your time. It's crazy the amount of, like, shit you get from tunnels, right? Like, you go to, like, downtown, you might have, like, 20 containers. You go to tunnels, you have, like, 100 per map. It basically feels like the content and the rewards in tunnels feel like they're honestly, like, almost, like, inverse what they should be in comparison to the actual bespoke maps. Did I go down here yet? I am literally, like, everything is fading together here. I guess we'll find out. No, Duffs, like, this is, like, yeah, lots of the tunnels, they should really explore a dichotomy between the tunnels, between having very small and cramped areas and very large and expansive areas to both make you feel claustrophobic, but also insignificant and small at the same time. They have a lot of middling areas in tunnels, right? I don't really feel like do that, but, like, this is my favorite tile set in tunnels, just because it does make you feel small, right? And I do feel like there's a reason why Frozen Swamp is one of my favorite maps in the game, because the map feels large, and they did it in a clever way, right? Because it doesn't require so much work for pathfinding or content, right? Because they use negative space on Frozen Swamp, right? All of those giant ponds of water that are hazardous terrain you cannot cross are ways of stretching out and expanding the map to be larger, to be more expansive, but not to be flush with endless content, right? It doesn't have to be as dense as downtown, but it can be larger than downtown. I am mainly selling them. If they ever add stuff for the codexes, I'll just farm them again. I just want one more foam. I need one more, right? That's it. Yeah, I think I just got one so far. This game hates me. It doesn't want to give me no more foam. We're gonna be here forever. No, you know, so Blood, as you can, if you've not been able to tell thus far, the way they've handled adding the new loot is that they're just like appending it to the old loot tables. It feels like it's essentially that's kind of, it feels like once they develop something and move on, the only ways they'll actually interact with that old stuff is like by adding to it, not going back and reworking it or remodeling it or like refactoring it anyway to accommodate new stuff or to build it modularly. It like the way they do looting, like essentially what I'm getting here, I think their monthly patch cadence is causing them to do very short-sighted design decisions in regard, or just not even design, just programming choices. Essentially, they are constantly stuck in this loop where they have to do like the most short-sighted, quickest solution to every problem because that's all they have time to do. Because like the looting system in this game, oh god, it's so bad. Let me elaborate. Most of this stream, if you have been watching, is me talking and idly walking around the tunnel system in this game, pulling the lever on slot machines. That is essentially what we have been doing for the last, check notes, 2.5 hours. Well, even before with the enemies, it was still the same thing, right? It just had some occasional like hostility in between the slot machines. Don't murder me. I just want my foam. I mean, there's a lot, like, I feel like by and large, the core issue they're having here is that, so, okay, so like, there's the fluff side of it, and then there's just the game side of it, right? The fluff side of it is that all of these containers seem too ubiquitous and unguarded for them to be like if this stuff is supposed to matter, it's part of getting the stuff, right? Like the stories behind games, like, okay, like I need to get foam, right? So I did this like really hard like loop of like going to downtown, avoiding enemies, getting to their foam supply, looting their foam, and getting my way out, right? No, foam just now is because like foam is just, oh, I just spammed tunnels for 10 hours and got my foam. There's no stories about how you got the resource, it's just grinding the resource. So that's the fluff side. The game side is, the way to do this, like, so right now, my opinion is there's two factors here. A, players are spending too much time in tunnels. Why are they spending too much time in tunnels? Because we have way too many loot containers in tunnels that they are compelled to loot because we have artificially inflated all of the costs for all of the internet upgrades to require them to do so. Cut the amount of containers in tunnels by a factor of 10. Cut the costs of the internet upgrade buildings by a factor of 10. You keep the grind in if you want the grind to exist. By cutting both by a factor of 10, you basically say to players, I am now going to tell you to spend less time in tunnels looting containers overall, but the times you do get those loots, they are still worth their weight. You don't need 50 foam anymore to grind the bar. You need 5. But now you need to get those 5 foams in 10 times less the containers in the tunnels, right? So what that does overall, it means that you're no longer spending so much fucking time in tunnels looting endless containers. Meaning you get out of tunnels and get to the bespoke maps faster. And hey, maybe you can actually keep the actual density of containers. Like, if you're going to have this issue where you're not going to refactor your container logic and like your looting logic, if your only real avenue of balancing containers is the density of containers, then just make the tunnels not that dense. Like by and large, the overall prevailing sentiment I feel like about tunnels is that like players are asked to spend too much time there for a multitude of reasons. A, because of length, but B, because all of the loot is also there too. Please just give me a foam. I need one more foam, please, please, please be foam. Free me from this curse. God damn it. But like, here's the thing too though, wouldn't it feel much more significant too though? Like, wouldn't you get a harder dopamine hit if you only needed 5 foam, but the foam was harder to get? So like when you actually saw foam, you're like, oh shit, this is huge. Not, this is, you know, this is, you know, 2% of the way there. We are definitely speaking to a very poor like RNG of the foam too. We've gotten 1 foam in 2 tunnels, and we're almost done with tunnels D2. There's gonna be an exo here. There's gonna be an exo here for sure, almost assuredly. It's too easy. Please have foam. Please have foam. Please have foam. Free me. There is no God. Alright, we need to find one more. How have we not found 2 yet? So I would add the Gonzo. The game right now is more of a mood than an actual game. Essentially there's content and you're consuming the content. There's not a whole lot of progression. There's very few times where you actually get more stuff to do. You basically, the only thing keeping you from engaging with most content in the game is your own ability to go want to do that content, by and large, right? Like, if I start on a new account, I can go from Tunnel A to downtown, which is all of the maps in the game, right, basically, if I wanted to. Nothing is stopping me from doing that. What technically we are trying to do with what we're doing right now is we're trying to grind an object called concrete foam, which is used to build a building in the innards, which is our hideout, basically. So we get basically just like a cool new building. It does give us a little bit of progression by giving us a rifle, a gun, that we can use to kill unkillables. But by and large, there's not a whole lot of progression in the game. Please, I beg of thee. I beg of thee. Don't make me come back. Yeah, I don't mind the waiting. I mean, I don't like the waiting, but like at least the waiting's done at that point. I mean, there's quests basically in the game. The quests you can do are mostly repeatable, and so they're more of like obtaining, like they give you things to do on maps, but they're not really that deep, right? The Bunko questline, I would say, is actually pretty decent, but the Bunko questline's hard to actually activate too. But no, by and large, the quests are like the quests do a decent amount of giving you a reason to do what you're doing, but by and large, it's still like your own personal motivation. Like for me personally, the only reason why I do quests is to help grind water, and that's really about it. That tracks. Yeah, that's probably the best quest line actually, because it like actually has an appropriate amount of dialogue and fluff. I do like the quest line for Lordos. I don't know if we're going in circles, but I'm so desperate to get this last foam. I'm gonna explore every fucking corner of this goddamn place. Yeah, so you're playing for the more voyeuristic aspects. Please. Alright, let's go this way. Hopefully it's not immediately to the end. Okay, this is good. This has actually got maybe some content here for us to do. Or other containers to loot. Alright, I need the phone to be in one of these rooms, please. Foam. Please. These are the worst containers I've ever seen in my life. Why are they only... These containers are very weird. They're only dropping 4 things. That's not usually the case. Alright, please. Why are they only dropping 4 things? No. Alright, my mind's going to a very dark spot right now. Is there an anti-looting fucking thing in the game? Why is it only dropping 4 at a time? That... Seeing 5 or 6 containers drop only 4 items like that is very sus. I mean, I knew it existed for the hoarding mechanic in regards to the AT rifle. Is there... I usually do not loot tunnels to this extent. This is very unnatural, and I'm actually getting a little bit pissed off right now. Is it 4 again? Oh. Oh, I am so livid right now. Is this 4 also, or is it only for the other ones? Okay, it's not for these at least, like, those ones. But these, like, bespoke supply crates for tunnels, these newer ones, is it 4 again? Oh, genuinely go fuck yourself, fun dog. Genuinely go fuck yourself. That is, with the prior context, that is 100% a thing. Oh, fuck you. I'm pretty good about giving you the benefit of the doubt, but fuck you. That is so certainly a thing. That is the most It's realism, yeah. After you loot 20 containers on the map, we'd suddenly now nerf all the other containers because... What fucking reason? That is such a terrible way. Terrible. It's so bad. It screams incompetence. I am very fair and charitable, I feel like, in this regard. That screams incompetence.
Alright, we're gonna put 100 containers in the tunnels, but we're gonna slap your wrist if you try to loot all of them because you should know better than to loot all the containers we provide you.
Yeah, they're probably wondering why their Steam reviews are fucking awful. Jesus.
Let us arbitrarily punish the game for trying to play the game we give to the players.
Jesus Christ. That is such a bad fucking look from them. We're gonna make you grind 50 foam, but we're also gonna turn off your ability to grind foam when we arbitrarily decide to do so because of whatever fucking reason.
What happens next?
Well, because I only have one foam, I am just gonna go balls to the wall here and try to find this last foam here. It does make no sense at all, actually. You are 100% correct. It's an arbitrary punishment, basically slapping the player on the wrist for engaging in the game the developers present to you. I have backups to my save files. It's not a big deal. I mean, I haven't talked to the developers in a while. I am going to mention, like, I am actually quite livid right now. I have not really, I know they're very busy, so I don't talk to them all that much because I know, like, there's no point in me mentioning stuff to them because they are busy. Between this and the flag for the AT rifle, it deserves some mentioning at this point. I'm gonna be a fucking internet Karen and be like, what the fuck are you thinking? In a nicer way, naturally. Because, like, you have to understand, the philosophical argument behind doing that type of design means they view the players as the enemy. That is, it's a very antagonistic way of viewing your players. It's conceptually unhealthy. It's them treating players as something to be controlled, which is not how you should view your players. So, Blood, there is essentially a hard cap in tunnels where after you loot a certain amount of containers, all of the containers after that are nerfed. It's basically it's basically like, hey, you're engaging in the game too much. So we hit a certain period, Blood, and the next 10 containers had only 4 loot items in them, when traditionally those containers have like 10. And it was always 4. It wasn't 2 or 3 or 1. It wasn't just like RNG. It was 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Hey Vinny, how's it going? I was thinking that, but 10 times, I can do it again. I can go back in tunnels and like experience it. it seems to only happen if you loot tunnels a lot. Like we were fully exploring tunnels there, right? Like I don't genuinely, thanks Vinny by the way, I don't genuinely look at tunnels or I don't usually loot in tunnels all that much. But because we were trying to get our last foam, I scoured those tunnels for every container, and the last like 10 type, like the newer containers, right? The last 10 of them were always 4 things, and they always were missing the part of the loot tables that could actually drop foam. All right, let's continue looting this room. Yeah, it was conforced, like it was over the sample size of 10, and like because it was always 4, it was always the same like things being left out and same things included, right? It was literally screaming, "This is being artificially controlled." And it wasn't a gradient too, right? It was classic Fundog in that regard. It wasn't a gradient, it was a switch. They always operate in Boolean switches. It wasn't like loot was getting less and less, which would have still been bad, but at least a gradient. But it was classical Fundog of just a sudden flag being turned on and saying you can't loot anymore. I wonder if we can trick it. So there used to be a system in the game with HKs. It might still exist actually, where if you open containers over and over again, it would actually summon, what's it called? Like summon HKs. I wonder if you can do the same bug with that control measure. I did not know, because like otherwise if I did that, we wouldn't have gotten the search prompt, right? Because like once you explore a container, it stays searched forever. We were searching those containers when we went up to them, right? And so we were searching every single slot and only 4 would populate. I also don't loot that many things from containers either, so like we would not be seeing 4. We wouldn't be seeing 4 10 times in a row with the same pattern. Especially too, because I've been picking up cigarettes, right? And that's what we were seeing in those containers with cigarettes. So if I looted them before, I would have looted the cigarettes. Absolutely wild. And now, like, I've been trying to loot every container on this map and haven't found a foam yet, which makes me sad. And like, think of like how much work we're doing on this map relative to the actual loot density in comparison to tunnels. It's not, because I've done the exact opposite. I have opened containers I've opened before, and it's literally showing me the stuff I've already seen. And it doesn't have me search for it. So I have the exact opposite story of what you're telling me. I have gone to, I have learned that I have double back occasionally, because I'll search a container that I've already searched, and it's already fully explored. Also, once again, this is not a one-off. This is, I know you're trying to give the, like, I'm happy you're trying to give the developers the benefit of a doubt. 10 times is not a doubt anymore, especially with patterns. Well, so it's probably tunnel specific, because it seems to only, it didn't seem to affect the ammunition crate. it seemed to only affect the certain crates and tunnels. Like, you know, the newer crates and tunnels have like the metallic kind of industrial appearance. It seemed to only affect those, because those are the ones that actually have the drops for that loot pool, right? Lowbrow, I would be definitely down. Petting the dog plus 2 foam. Your medical crate, we don't need you. Who knew the last fucking 2 foam would take so goddamn long? Please, you're our last hope, apartment buildings that's destroyed. I know there's a few containers in you. Please. So the philosophical problem too of like doing what they've done, that it's like, once again, this is assuming that they did it. It seems like they've done it. Maybe we'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say even if they didn't, right? Let's just say they did. You're asking the players to grind tunnels for foam, lots of grinding tunnels for foam, but then you're also saying, but we're going to like arbitrarily restrict you on how much you can grind per like it's weird, but it feels just like it feels like a play the game, but not like that. It feels just fucking weird. It doesn't feel logical, right? It doesn't feel like there's a it doesn't feel like it was well thought out. It's like it feels all knee-jerk. We want players to go to tunnels to grind foam for the bar, but also we don't want players to get too much foam in the tunnels. Yeah, I haven't really bothered grinding foam that hard. I usually, I don't usually double back all that hard to explore the entire tunnel segment. But the fact that they would punish you for doing so was insane to me. Alright, well, we looted most, we might have missed a container here and there, but I think we did a pretty thorough job of looting downtown. We attempted to get our last foam in downtown. We gave it an honest to God shot. There it is. All of that work for one fucking piece of foam. Oh my god. Alright, let me actually just do a double check to make sure I'm not losing my fucking mind here. We actually only have 49. God fucking damn it. And now we have the water grind after this too. Oh god. Hey Crimson, it's going. We're currently trying to grind the bar out. And we're pulling out our hairs. That's how it's going. Alright. Okay, I only need one foam. That's the plus side. I can do Tunnel C. We'll find a foam, and then we can leave. We just need one foam. That's all we need. It can't be that hard, right? Knock on wood. No, Kira, we are doing this the way it's intended. We're doing the gameplay experience.
Wake up, rinse and repeat. Stay alive.
Why should there be a fucking exo here? Fucking figures. Oh, fuck me. All right. Okay, so you can see here what's happening, right? These first 4 items are from the old resource pool. They're older items from the original game, right? Before Tunnels update, right? Everything after that is new and appended. So what they are doing is when you search too many containers, actually I have an idea. I'm gonna be kind of it. This is an experiment, forgive me. I am just now genuinely curious. We're gonna do this a little bit. So, what I am technically doing right now is this is the way you would trigger HKs in the future, or in the past, is you would just open a container, and about 10 times you would get an HK. If they have an artificial count that they're not doing their due diligence, making sure it's not containers you already opened, we should hit that, and it should fuck us. Now, you're probably saying, well, wouldn't this mean you can't get foam? Yes, but I'd rather it be right than have foam right now, actually. Yeah, we're not trying to fully search everything. We're trying to increment a counter, is what we're trying to do. And we'll stop. We'll do it like 10 more times. We are basically seeing if they have a counter for when every time you open a container. And based on that, they call every other container. Essentially, they cut off this part. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So now I'm curious if I continue looting, are we going to hit that limit very quickly if we've not hit it already? And it only applies mainly to these containers, right? Because these containers are where the new items mostly are. Okay, it did not hit. That's good. We'll continue looting and seeing if it actually does do that. I don't know what the actual count is, but I am curious if there is actually like a top-end count. Yeah, no problem. I'm very genuinely curious too. That's a dead end. We'll go this way. I'm curious too if we'll hit it early, maybe. If we hit it early, that means there probably is a counter. If we don't see it at all, that means it's probably not a counter. It's just probably for each container in the tunnels. This is a dead end, right? Yeah, this is the dead end tile. I think both these are dead ends. We need to go this way. And there's like a few containers over there, but not worth the time, probably. Over we go. Yeah, I think the tunnels are so that they actually just cannot spawn HKs. Which I'm okay with. Let's go over here first. And once we find one foam 2, we're out of here. That is, the goal is just the one foam. Uh-oh. 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 Oh no, this is not good. Did I increment the counter? Oh, that's not a good look. Row. Do you see what's happening here? Here, I'll show you. You see this container? 4. Do you see this container? 4. Do you see this container? Well, we looted one, so 4 there too. Yeah, so we incremented the counter up. We hit the limit. We didn't get to limit from doing our thing, right? But there is a limit. We hit that limit, and it's only based on how you open containers too. It's not based on how the containers loot, right? Oh no, yeah, it's not great. So naturally, I can't get foam anymore, so we just need to leave. I literally cannot get foam anymore on this map. It is cooked. Well, that's not good. No, yeah, it's not good at all. Don't worry, I'll be messaging them after the stream. I am very. I'm not going to present it as malice yet. I am going to say, this exists. What the fuck? Even I won't say it was intentional, but I definitely will mention it like this should not exist. This is if this was on purpose, this is a fuck up. Oh. I mean, I can't. That's like beside the point, though, right? Like, why does this exist in the like, John? The biggest, just like the flag for the heavy rifle anti-farming, it asks why this exists in the first place. It had to be included in the code. Now, I will say it might just be a bug. Maybe there's just some weird bug going around. I will say I won't present it to them as malice, but I will present it to the way in the sense of if it's intentional, this is a fuck up on your part. This should not exist in this capacity. But I won't assume it was based like on, I won't assume it was malicious or on purpose. But I will basically present it in such a way where if it was, that's fuck you. Oh no, we're still even come back. No, you're fine. Yeah. I could leave and come back through Tunnel C and like do that, and that will reset it. You are correct. But no, we'll continue on. So Fuse, essentially, they have a counter in tunnels, and basically means that like, so after a certain point,
Hey, watch my back.
in tunnels, right? Let's say, for example, essentially like, there's a limit in tunnels where if you loot containers after a certain point, they basically lose the loot you care about. There's a few pieces of loot in there, but by and large, they become neutered. I don't know what the exact counter is, maybe like around 50 or so, maybe a little bit less than that. But if you loot too much in tunnels, it essentially turns off the rest of the containers, in a way. It's basically like it presents itself as anti-farming logic. which has no place to exist in a game like this. Like, why does that exist? Why? What purpose does that solve? Like, you're not trying to why? You want players to go farm your tunnels for lots of foam to get the bar, but then you're telling them don't loot the tunnels for lots of foam for the bar because we're going to arbitrarily just turn it off if you do. What? Containers opened. We tested it out just 10 minutes ago, not 5 minutes ago, by opening the same container over and over and over again. We didn't do it enough times to get all the way there just based off one container. But like we opened like 3 or 4 more, and after that it happened. So it seems to be a counter strictly based on the times you open a container. That's it. It increments up every time you open a container, and once you get a certain number, it stops populating the loot. That's what it's currently seems to be based on. And maybe it's just a bug. Maybe it was just a quirk. Maybe it's a bug they need to fix. I have it hard to believe why a bug like that would pop up though, but you know, that's how I will present it to them in the sense of like, hey, this exists. I hope it's not intentional, but if it is, it needs to, this is not good.
Uh-huh. I think they spotted us.
Fucking these trees, man. Why do... These trees, okay, we're in a really bad spot here because these trees are bullet sponges. Not the big tree, the branches. All right, hold on, let me get to a safe spot quickly. So I can actually heal. All right. All right, so you see these bushes over here, by the way, like these ones right here. They absorb bullets, but only for the player. So like, hold on, let me get over here. Actually, do they? Did they fix that? Hold on. Maybe I'm just incompetent. Give me 1 second here. Was I hitting something else? Hold on. No, okay, they kind of still do. They definitely still do. Alright, I'm out of meds. Time to get out of here. Yeah, these fucking trees are like just hellish bullet sponges, which made that fight very awkward. So Dr. Fuse, there are each tunnel, so tunnels 1, 2, 3, and 4, each has 4 variants or 4 layouts that it will cycle through each day. Okay. I require 1 foam, please.
Perfection.
Probably some meds too. We are actually out of meds now. All right, I require a foam. Where's the goddamn exit? Is there an exit here? Is there a checkpoint penalty? I only see 3 up here. Is there not an extract penalty?
You mean the raptor pass up here? So if you're unfamiliar with this tile set, by the way, yeah, like this tile set, there is a way to get up over here, and there's a room over here that can be a pathway out. That's a thing in Tunnels A. That's a pretty big thing, because people miss. On D, no. Okay, thank you. So we were just gonna skedaddle here. I think this will be an extract this way. Yeah, no, it's easy to miss. It was when Tunnels first came out, Dr. Fuse, it was a thing people were missing a lot. And the first like variant of Tunnels, it was set up to be that tile set that you needed to use to get out to Scorched Enclave, and people missed it all the time. So no, yeah, don't worry. Like it was a common pain point for a lot of people to miss that. All right, so whatever this is, we can just leave this way. I think this is the cemetery. We'll see what it is. I have no idea. Yeah, cemetery. It's fine. And a nitrous cemetery. That actually might be a good thing too, because the dog will attack the cultists, which might distract from us. I accept. Okay, case in point. I don't feel very safe, but I'm gonna go this way anyway. Fucking stamina, man. Get up. Okay, all I gotta do is pray there's not a fucking dog here. I think we're okay. I think it's just cultists and scramblers. All right, we are good. All we require now is a shit ton of water. And unfortunately, we burned through quite a few drones doing the foam too, more than I would have liked. So I think we only really have, I think, 1 or 2 drones left. We can burn both of them to get the water done. See you, Emphas. Have a good night. And have a good Christmas too. There's not really a whole lot of reasons to go there anyway, too, to be honest. The water is, yeah, the water is not hard. It's just not quick. But I need so much of it. All right, 80 water. All right, so gunhead. Bring in the rack. I usually prefer, we can do a little bit faster way for 2 runs. to put a good dent in it. Yes, but at what cost? Thanks, Duffs. Appreciate it. While I wait for the bar to build, yeah. No, watch, yeah, we're doing this the way Fun Dog intended. We are here for water. Actually, we take you. And this lets us turn 2 of our drones into a decent amount of water. Rifle, we have M4. All right. I define screwed up. There's been a prevailing sentiment, like quite a few of the players who really just wanted a museum got kind of upset when they did tunnels, because the tunnels basically says between each museum you need to take a 10-minute, 15-minute break. So in the context of that, from their perspective, I can understand that. Yeah, if they're just if they just wanted to like look at the museum art and they didn't really want a game to begin with. Yeah, I don't know the actual background of their like of the people who does design, so it'd be curious if they actually had a background in mobile game design. Yeah, no, there's a lot of complaining about tunnels. I would say like, you have to keep in mind too, the vocal minority, people who are upset are much more likely to voice their opinions than people who aren't. So you have to keep that caveat in mind. There are pain points around tunnels though, right? Like, essentially, tunnels ultimately take up... They're a bit monotonous. Like, the problem with tunnels is that people, like, okay, the core 2 ways I would essentially say the problems with the tunnels are, they're monotonous, they're too monotonous, and they take up too much time. And in that combination, the people who want to see the museum, feel like they're getting all this time wasted, and the people who don't like to do repetitive monotonous behavior are like now being told that that's like one of the like cornerstones of the game now because they spend too much time there. So they're too monotonous and they take up too much time is the 2 big things for me for tunnels. That's why I think a lot of people are fairly upset with it. Yeah, you could just say it's early access issues too. The question is Fundog going to address them is the question. Yeah, essentially, yeah. The players are incentivized to basically said, like, you should be spending your time in tunnels because that's where everything is in regards to, like, playing the game. It feels a bit mismatched anyway. That's done. Get a little bit of looting here just in case, or just why not? Grab our aqua. Room for 1 more if it's here. It is not. We are not going to wait. Essentially, yeah, they can just make it shorter. I would focus more on like. I would much rather see them arrange the tile sets they have into like unique events as opposed to strictly being always just like walk through and always just like, yeah, like break up the monotony. Yeah, we're not fucking with the exo. I've had enough exos for today. We'll just take 1 less water for right now. So this should get us to, I think, around 50-ish water. The last 30 will just have to be like a Tunnels A grind, probably, yeah. That got us to 39. So we'll get another, like, yeah, we'll be like a 52 or something like that. So let's do one more of those. That's a freebie. I could do that, but I'm not going to if I can help it. I guess I can do this. I'll bring us some cigarettes, actually, so we can do that. 556. So we'll bring like another, just 200 rounds this time. We don't really need that much. And we'll bring a cigarette. And back to this grind of the quest shuffle. We're just looking for any quests that give us water as a reward. Along with Hidden Water Part 2. That's the biggest one. Wait, no, stop. It's either or. It doesn't have to be basics. It's any cigarettes. And any of them work. He's dying. He's not picky. No, you're good. I appreciate you raising the concern of me going to do something that might have just resulted in me not doing anything. All right. This is our last drone, I believe, so after this is Tunnel A farming. I cannot make any more, I believe. Yeah, we are tapped out. I don't think there has been a lot of deep thought put into the actual systems like that. Yeah. I would love to see them do more quest givers in regard, like, yeah, well, here, that's a good thing too, like, yes, like, make, like, oh god. Part of, like, yeah, Tunnels for sure is maybe not leaning so much on the, leaning on the combat elements, right? Like, Tunnel should be a spot for, like, non-combat encounters for sure, right? Probably. If the world got colder, then probably, yeah. I mean, isn't Finland already a frozen hellscape anyway? Apologize for any Finnish people in chat, though you should be asleep right now, I feel like, if you're Finnish. It's gotta be like, what, close to midnight over there, right? If not later. It's actually, yeah, it should be like even like 1 or 2 a.m. over there, right? Don't mind me, everyone. I'm just here for some aqua. This is actually much nicer than day shift, actually. Much calmer. Maybe they see me as another cyborg. Mr. Robot Man. Yeah, so like, yeah, risky cargo does like, you could like translate any swifters into water, I guess. All right, no container there. If the screen's black for you guys or dark on you for you guys, it's also dark for me. So we're seeing the same thing. Don't you worry. There, we did not find the cache, unfortunately, yet, which probably means we're not going to find it. Anyway, cigarettes. That's done. Alright, I'm gonna leave because I don't actually have enough HP to probably deal with this side with the dog, so we're just gonna leave. We'll take our small gain here. I could open the medical door, it's just not worth the risk. I have a decent amount of water, that's not risk at all. Weirdly enough, actually, in tunnels, there is a small amount of radius of light you get for free.
Objective secured. Minimal casualties.
Yeah, what we were doing basically was resetting this quests anyway. Yeah. Forcing the reset on quests so we can get the ones we want. Alright, so not great, but at least something. Alright, now for the fun times. We have 49. We did not get all of our water that we needed to pay for that. So yeah, Tunnel A. We don't need ammo, I don't think. We're not fighting all that much. I have 49 now, so we're 31 short. So probably about 5 runs, 6 runs of Tunnel A, just ad nauseum. Should be pretty quick though with Gunhead, just full sprint. And I don't think we can get exos in Tunnels A either, so...
Maintain spacing. The sector ahead contains explosives.
Oh god, there's a fucking ladder. Or sorry, elevator. Gunhead is... So, like, I don't have to bring meds with Gunhead. Gunhead has a free ammo count on his head, too. The big thing with Gunhead is that he just does not have stamina, right? He can just sprint endlessly. So if we're just running through maps, it seems like the quickest way of doing things. All right. See you, John. Have a good Christmas. Alright, Aqua, please. I care about nothing else. Like, you can actually, like, you can see here, right? Like, if we walk away, we actually do have a light radius in tunnels, right? You can see that it is illuminating around us. I mean, those technically are water. If I'm regular water, I'll take them instead, but those technically can be converted into water. I need to figure out this tile set too and figure out where the exact extract is. We're going straight to the innards extract, which is going to be at the scav camp. Yeah, it's right over there. Perfect. Is there water in here too, or no? That might be a good run, actually, for looting, if we need to get strict water. Let me see if there's any more nearby. 'Cause that's the way out for us. That's where we need to go to extract if we went back to the innards. Hey, zombie. Alright. Oh, fuck that way. Let's see what's over here. If there is not any more water nearby, we'll just extract and see if we get better RNG. We might be on a Tunnel A reset too, if we just choose to die perhaps, but we'll see. We'll just play around a bit still. No water here. I doubt there's water up top. Maybe let's go check real quickly. Oh, that doesn't look like it's supposed to be there. Container. Yeah, this is a loop. Okay, this is actually good. This is, yeah, this is a water room. Okay, so we know the layout now. This will have water in it for sure, which will be 6 water per run at the very least if we don't get good RNG, because I think this room has 3. Okay, so we know the layout now to actually go get at least 6 water a run. If it stays the same tile set. And then to the left over here, which will take us back down. So you got banned from what? Alright, so 6 water a run. Explosives can be translated into water too when we want to do that. I don't think I have like, any extra spare explosives though.
Keeping humans alive gets old.
Who does the explosives quest again too? I can't remember. Is it the scavengers who do it? But yeah, I think it's the scavengers. I'm pretty sure it's just a generic quest too. It doesn't actually have a map assigned to it. There we go, risky cargo. Do I have more explosives on me? I don't think I do, right? Let me go over here. I don't usually pick them up very often. Yeah, I don't think I do. Okay. All right, regions, tunnel A, gunhead. Wait, what's an exploit? Wait, well, I'm confused. Are you talking about the reset quests? I don't consider that an exploit. I consider that quality of life. Yeah, I don't consider that an exploit. There is no day or night system at all. There is no time measuring system at all. Like, the quest resets don't really, yeah, it doesn't matter. If I close the game and reopen the game and come back an hour later, I have new quests. Is that an exploit too? I mean, that's on them though, right? If you're gonna create a bunch of quests that are just like repeatable quests, then players choosing what repeatable quests they do, I think is perfectly fine. Make them sequential or make them repeatable, either or. But like, if you're gonna make them repeatable, yeah, let players choose. All right, that's the same. What do you mean by scanners? You mean like the radar towers? They were always there. They were just kind of in weird spots. I think it's just basically when you come back, right? Like, if you leave the lobby, it's essentially when you leave the UI. That is when the reset happens, right? That is actually factually when the reset happens. technically speaking, if you go run a raid and come back, it's reset too, but that's because you close out of the UI. Like, that is when the reset, it populates the quests based on when, like, the UI closes and opens, right? That is the reset. In a more natural way, you can view it as when, like, the player comes back from a mission or comes back, but, like, that's not when it populates, right? Otherwise, it would be how it would be. It's strictly from when you close and reopen the UI for it. If a player naturally does it over and over again, or if a player naturally stumbles across it, like every player, just from opening and closing the UI, it's not really an exploit, it's just how the game works. YGM, I have no problems talking about bugs or exploits. I'm not going to show them off in game. We can talk about them all the time. There's no issue with that at all. I've talked about the railgun exploit before. I just won't talk about how to do it. I'm not going to censor you doing it either. So, like, you can do it in chat. Just be mindful, though. Like, if you want bugs like that to, like, continue, because, like, yeah, you be mindful too. If you talk about bugs like that too much and they start spreading out to public channels, the more likely a chance they get fixed without any quality of life considerations, right? Like, that's how the railgun bug got fixed, right? Is people kept talking about it and it kept spreading to other channels and it became basically present across every single discussion board. So if you have like a really nice quality of life fix that you like, don't hold it to yourself, but just be careful where you communicate it at, right? Because, like, personally, they've shown, like, I don't want to say like they're like ignoring, because they did, like, the way they fixed the railgun issue was to add a solo railgun. For me, that's personally a very monkey's paw curl moment, but, like, it is a solution to the problem. So they are, I don't want to say they're not trying to do solutions to problems that are presented to them, but, like, yeah. I would be concerned about them fixing that and then having an adverse effect. By the way, I think you are probably safe to say it in here. The problem is people spreading it outside of this, like, of this. They don't watch my content because I'm way too critical. They'll watch my videos, but they won't watch, like, the streams, right? Which is perfectly fair. I understand. It's hard to listen to someone, like, bash you for fucking 4 hours. That is perfectly fair. It's basically a solo railgun. That's with infinite ammo. Or not, sorry, not infinite ammo. It's a solo railgun where you can make lots of ammo for it, right? So it's like not based like on the railgun where you only get 10 shots. It's based on how much ammo you want to bring in. I mean, it's honest, but still critical, right? Like, it can be both. Let me up. Up we go. I mean, personally, I would just like to, with the whole quest system, if they wanted to remove stuff like that, I would love to see them do like an actual like a cycle where like it actually, like, I want time to be in game, right? I really don't like the IRL timer. I'd much rather the timers be in game. The scripture. All right, down we go. Yeah, it feels, yeah. That's good to know. So it's basically animation cancel. I wouldn't consider that really an exploit. Yeah, like so you're basically saying there's animation cancellation. It probably isn't intentional, but I would consider lots of games use animation canceling as like a skill mechanic to some degree. Oh, for sure, Dr. Fuse. Dr. Fuse, there's plenty of people who disagree with my sentiments about the game. 100%. We saw one of them earlier, right? Which is why I was so surprised he was in chat. It's like, why are you here if, like, don't you fucking hate me, apparently? Like, why are you here, then? Yeah. Sometimes animation cancellings get kept into a game, though. Like, they don't get fixed or removed. All right, I think if we only need one more, but we would have to do the repeat quest 3 times. Yeah, it's definitely a bug, White Team. It's not like intentional animation canceling, but like, yeah. I think so. We did a melee with him earlier. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's like a charge up. It's a bit more of a. It's kind of slower, I guess. Maybe it does like more damage as opposed to being quick, like Maskman's is. It does. Yeah, it seems like he's like charging up and leading his shoulder into it. Basically, it's like yeah, his shoulder smack. It definitely feels more shoulder than butt stock, right? Oh, I know that bug. Yeah, that bug has been around for a while. That one I feel like they know about because it's been pretty present in the community for a long time. They just probably haven't bothered fixing it. They don't have a reason to. Blood, I have a direct line to the developers. I have both Jeff and Miles on my Discord. I don't need to email them, I can just talk to them. Don't be careful what you ask for, Fruit Par. There's a reason why I'm so disillusioned. There's a certain degree of the veil has been lifted. By and large, Blood, I've said this before, the game is going to be what it's going to be, for better or for worse. All I can tell you guys is I have tried. I have genuinely tried. I have hundreds of hours tried. That's all I can really say. Down we go. We're near the end. Now we just need to churn explosives into water. Sounds like a fucking, like, grimdark Jesus. Instead of wine, it's explosives. Or it's the opposite, actually. It's not water into wine, it's explosives into water. Alright. Would it just be quicker to do this one more time as opposed to... maybe not. Alright, there's one. No, I just thought there. No, I clicked it too. I was, it was right there, and I skipped past it. No. I don't think Tarkov's bad though, right? I mean, at least Tarkov's like, well, I haven't played Tarkov in a very long while. I do need to play it again now that it's finished. I wouldn't play it PvE, right? But I'm curious how the PvE experience is for it, right? Because now you can actually like, I like the fact that you can now play Tarkov and get to like, you can finish the game and be done with it, right? That is very appealing to me. Are we there? Have we done it? I like it a lot, Blood, I like it a lot, right? I like the ability that you can actually finish the game now. Well, YTM, there's a co-op mode for 1.0, and hopefully there's eventually SPT for 1.0 too. Okay. Only 2 days away, and I'll be gone. Alright, we did it. It took 4 hours. It didn't feel like it was going to take 4 hours, but it took 4 hours. But we now have finished we've got the bar being built now. All 50 foam is gone. All the millions gone. So much of my patience gone. Hidden secrets of the game now known. Weird ass tables being called after a certain point. YTM codexes. You just do codex farm occasionally. Back in the earlier grind, YTM, we were breaking up doing tunnels runs with doing mesa runs for codexes. But once we hit our monetary requirement for the upgrade, we just stopped. So we were doing, previous streams, we were doing occasional runs on mesa. All right. That's it for today, everyone. Thanks for watching. I hope you have good holidays. I hope you enjoyed the grind for the bar and our conversations. I certainly did. Well, the conversations. We'll see what they come out, I guess, with this month or next month in regards to more grindy stuff. Hopefully it has more relation to the game itself. This is my last stream for the year. I will see you guys next year. Have a good one. Have a good holidays, and we'll catch you all later.